have like this really offensive joke that I have stewing, like really offensive. I'm just waiting for the right moment.
Well, it's a good thing we just started recording, Chris.
Ooh, so then yeah.
All right, okay. I'm gonna treat you guys. Might be a little. I know this is gonna upset some people because some people love her, some people hate her. But I've been working on my hill dog impression.
Ooh, the hill dog.
You ready? I'm getting a character.
The hills have dogs.
Oh man, I lost my character. Hold on, let me get back into it. Hello. What do you think?
What?
Spot on.
I think that was dead on.
That's an
Dead
Emmy.
on.
That's an
Nailed
Emmy waiting
it.
to happen.
Accurate, as they say.
Technically out of sentence.
Pick another. I pick anybody else. I'll do another impression.
Show me your Barrio.
What do you think of that?
Impeccable.
All right, let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to another installment of Two Guns, No Ammunition. I'm Big Billy. We're No Ammunition. Let's see. Mic identifier. I, again, am wearing camouflage in an urban environment.
And I'm Chris, and Bill's sitting next to me. Because of his camouflage, I can't see him.
I'm Genevieve, and I'm apparently an honorary boy.
BOI.
BOI, yeah.
Whatever. Spell it however you want.
I'm Frank, and Nova won the national championship again.
I thought you were going to go with your other factoid.
But I spread my butt cheeks as Mike Honcho.
What does that mean?
Very important information.
It is.
Equally important, my name is Jake, and just so you all know, bacon strips, bacon strips, bacon strips, bacon strips, bacon strips.
I made a great turkey club this afternoon that had bacon strips on it.
Is this a record? Is this the earliest we have completely gone off the rails?
No, this is fine.
Get us back on, Bill. Help!
We're actually a
All right.
food channel.
All right. Speaking of Nova, since basketball equals video games or whatever, how'd your bracket end up doing, Frank?
I lost. I came in second thanks to Michigan. And, well, no, not thanks to Michigan. Really thanks to Duke losing against Kansas. If Duke would have won, I would have won.
Did you win anything, or was it winner take all?
Winner take all.
Yeah, see, my office has organized a pool or a bracket or whatever, and they're doing it for other things, and they love this, like, second place actually win something. Like,
Yeah, I'm not a
dog
fan.
winner take all.
Yeah. Yeah, and the disappointing thing was that mine was 16 people, $20. So I would have had a nice haul.
Yeah, I was if Kansas had won.
They did win. Oh, you mean overall?
Yeah,
The whole thing.
If Kansas had won everything, I would have gotten first place, and I think it was I would have walked away with like $380.
Yeah.
So it was like 70% of the pot.
Yeah.
But because Nova won, I came in like 9th place.
Dude, I destroyed half the one side of the bracket, and then I was just completely dead on the other side. Like, I was probably, there's a total of 64 games, right, that are played. I probably got, so on 32, on the one half of the bracket where the Final Four ended up being Kansas, Nova, I probably got 90% of those games right. On the other side, I had Arizona and Miami making the Final Four when they both lost the first night.
Yeah.
So I thought I was dead in the water, but then I was so right on the other side that I ended up looking like I had a decent bracket overall. I had one wrong.
I stumbled my way through in first place up until like the Final Four.
Yeah. I was actually in first because the first two rounds were so ridiculous.
Well, yeah, what had happened is like I didn't necessarily call all the upsets, but the game after the upsets, I got the winners of that, right? So I didn't get all. So I did pretty well in the middle there, like after the second round. Chris, did you have a bracket going?
No, it's not really my thing. Not the, at least not on the college side.
Well, that's the ongoing joke, right? The people who win brackets are always the ones who don't know shit about brackets.
That's why, like, I've been more and more, like, I'm slowly starting to get into it. Like, we had one for the NFL at work, so I jumped in on that one, and I did okay. I ended up not winning anything, but I was not on the bottom. So that was nice. But I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of taking that mindset. I kind of want to jump into it and see if I can make a few bucks.
Yeah, we're what are we moving on to? We're at work, we're going to try an NHL playoffs bracket, NHL playoffs are the best playoffs you're ever going to see. It's some of the best sports play out there.
Yeah.
And then somebody made a game box office bracket. So like you get like $10 and you use it to bid on movies that are coming out over the summer. And then you earn points based on how much total money they make, how much they make an open.
I was going to make a
weekend,
joke, and that's actually what it is.
Yeah, it really is.
Box office.
So
shit.
we're giving that a try. I don't know how to work out, but it's like it's exciting. And it only costs what, like $20, $25 to get in a good pool.
That's not bad.
No.
But then you have to go to the movies a lot.
No, you don't.
have to see it.
You don't have to. You just you watch the
Then
numbers.
it doesn't really take. I feel like that would take some of the fun out of it.
That's true, right?
Because like I want to see the movies that I'm betting on.
Well, you're betting before they come out, right?
Well, you draft them, right? So you have a salary, and then each movie goes up on for auction, and then like so you have to outbid somebody in order to win the movie. But if you spend a lot on a big name movie, you have less to spend on anything else, right? So it sort of gets tactical. We'll see how it goes, and I like movies.
I like movies too.
Well, okay. So Frank, how the hell did a 16 upset a number 1 seed? Like this is literally never happened in the history of the tournament, right?
Well, I think number one is that UMBC was probably not a fair 16 seed, similar to Penn. Penn was not a fair 16 seed. It's just the way the tournament works, with guaranteed spots for people that win shitty conferences.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That like you could end up being like Penn was probably should have been like a 14 seed. And if you looked on like the overall like best ranking, like there's a website out there that ranks all college basketball teams like from 1 down to like probably 500. And Penn was like, I don't know, like number 112 or something like that. And there was a 14 seed, I don't remember which one, that was like number 136.
Okay.
So like Penn was not really a true 16 seed. Virginia was, and then UMBC was not as well. And Virginia was not really probably a true 1 seed. Like they had a great record all season because they played good defense, but defense in basketball does not win championships, unlike football, especially when you're playing against teams that have hot hands, because there's no defense for somebody just draining 35-foot threes. You're not going to defend that. They're just going to keep hitting them, and you need to keep scoring with them. Mm-hmm. And Virginia, for the past, they just have not been a scoring team for a long time. So still really strange that it happened. But once UMBC came out to such a hot start, I think Virginia was just shaken, and they couldn't get back in their game. They were in their heads.
Yeah, I mean I don't know a lot about a lot of sports, but momentum is one thing that I really think is hugely important. If a team heats up, they can stay hot and they can surprise you. I mean, it's all about that's why in the rugby games that I play in, like sometimes we'll get a bad call, and one bad call doesn't usually make or break you, but it, like 2 or 3 in a row can just kill your morale, and then the team falls apart. But do you think that's something they're going to try to fix, or does it lend to the excitement of the bracket? Yeah.
I don't think there is anything to fix. I mean, the tournament is how many years old? Decades old at this point. It's been going on for well over 50 years, and a 16 seed has upsetted a 1 seed once. Mm-hmm. There's 4 per year, so figure that's like a 1 in 300-ish probably chance that it happens. I would hope that the tournament makers are okay with that. If anything, it might. The only thing I could see them changing is how they seed everything and getting rid of some of those like guaranteed conference, like, you win your conference, you get into the tournament, or like some really crappy conferences. Because I mean, there's no that's one thing in general about both basketball and football for college sports is like you have these power conferences. Like, in football, it's the SEC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the Big 12. There's not even 12 or 10 teams in the Big Ten or 12 teams in the Big 12 anymore. That's just the name of the conference. I don't see why they do it this way. They need to completely reorganize that thing. I think the NCAA should go away because it's a corrupt organization. But that's a completely different story.
Yeah. As interesting as it might be, maybe we should veer back to Vidges.
Yeah.
2 shots, no points.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll put that in my pocket for later.
Yeah, that was good. Okay. concept art. So,
Nice segue.
Yeah.
That was
So,
great.
yeah.
Very
what's-
smooth.
It exists.
yeah, it's a thing. Basketball's a thing. So's concept art. There's
Whoa,
your
they both
segue.
exist. Holy
Whoa,
shit.
what?
Yeah.
Are we just listing things that exist now?
No, it was a segue. It was a clear segue.
I thought a Segway was that thing with the 2 wheels that you ride.
A bicycle?
Yeah.
No. So I seem to remember back in olden times, part of the rewards for different games, the completion rewards, were access to concept art, and especially in my mind are like the Star Wars games. I couldn't tell you specifically which one, but it's been a thing. And I'm finding now that concept art, I find that it's always really, really impressive, very exciting. Like, I've played through some shitty games, and in them I find this amazing concept art, and I go, that game would have been dope. That would have been so much fun to play. Now it seems to be getting to the point where artists can more accurately recreate what they have in the concept art because of the technology that we have to actually produce the games. But back in the day, I remember playing through a game, and it's like this incredibly realistic and impressive drawing of some space monster, and then on screen it's like an 8-polygon mud man. And I'm like, first off, how do you go through all this work knowing that you're going to get like 8 polygons? Yeah. Second off, is it not soul crushing? I don't know. I guess it's the best that you could do. But do you guys have anything on the top of your heads, like concept art that you've enjoyed, something that you've seen? Maybe people will even buy concept art.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought the collector's edition concept art book for Fallout 4.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's a textbook of
It's like
gorgeous art.
250 pages.
Yeah.
It's massive.
What prompted you to do that?
I was really excited for the game. I actually didn't buy it. I asked for it for Christmas because I was like, I'm at the point. Yeah, I'm at the point where, like, if I want something, I just go buy it. Like, if I need something, I should say, I just go buy it. And when I never know what to ask for when someone says, what do you want for Christmas or your birthday or something like that. I'm like, I don't know. I have everything that I need. Mm-hmm. So I ask for stupid shit that I would never buy myself.
Right,
and I mean, not to say that the concept art book is stupid. It is awesome. I'm really glad I have it. It's a great little thing to file away with the rest of my video game collection stuff, which is really nothing. But I don't know. It was really cool to page through. And sometimes, if I'm playing the game, I'll sit there and I'll be like, what? I wonder what the concept art for that looks like, and you can go there and you can look at it. It kind of reveals a little bit about how they made the game, what the thought process was behind everything, and I don't know, it's just cool to have.
Yeah, you can sort of see the intent, the original direction that they wanted to go, and then I guess you can sort of guess at how they got to where they actually are. Mm-hmm. But I hear what you're saying. They're like, this would be nice to have, but I can't justify spending the money on it.
Yeah.
So I was like,
it was $80. It's not like it was a huge expense, but like I wasn't going to drop $80 on that by myself.
Right. Like I could take that $80 and spend it on a new tire.
You could buy 2 more like older games that you haven't played.
Right. But if somebody bought me the concept art for $80, I wouldn't be upset about it.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Well, kind of to your point about how concept art was like an unlockable in the olden days, still is.
Really?
In some games,
Batman
such
has
as Devil May Cry.
Is that what we're looking at?
Batman?
Yep.
Happy
Batman.
to pull it up. I have most of it unlocked. Some of this looks like it's captured straight from the game, but no, this is concept art.
Wow.
It's just very, very detailed, but you can see the brushstrokes and shit. Like it's no joke.
Okay, so what we're looking at, I guess, is some sort of
like a character design
boss monster. And they have 3 different actual images of it, 3 different sizes. One's a close-up on this horrible head.
It's a demon monster,
Looks
so yes.
like a brain outside of its head. It's got, raptor claws on its feet. On the one, it has a giant gun. On the other one, it's carrying some sort of cargo. It walks on all 4.
Which, another favorite of mine when it comes to concept art, is shit that they didn't wind up putting in the game. That gun is not a thing. It looks like a muzzleloader on the back of this demon. It's the first boss fight in this game is what we're looking at, the concept art for it. It doesn't have a gun. He just has a knife. That's it. So, okay, they had this idea, and then for whatever reason, chose to cut it out. Just lots of little things like that with any concept art you're looking at. And then on this one, this picture, the little figure in the bottom right corner is supposed to be like
scale.
For scale. Yeah, it's a picture of
not bananas.
The character.
I was just gonna say, shouldn't it be a banana?
Ooh, more of the same. Just different iterations of this demon's face.
Ugh, this is horrible.
Yeah, it's back to it.
Now he has like feathers, kind of lots of different ideas being fleshed out.
Yeah, this just looks like
in art form.
Here's my question though: like, how long does it take them to come up with this art? Because it looks like such a tremendous amount of work for each one. And there's like, of that single monster, there was 6 different pictures.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ!
At least
I think it's all about perfecting it too, because it's most likely that the people who created the game aren't the people who are drawing it, so they have a certain vision, and when they describe it to the artist or the concept artist, they kind of play around with it and take some creative freedoms, and then show all the different options to the makers, and like, all right, so this is this demon monster character. I tried putting different weapons with him and changing his face around, like, what do you guys expect as the vision? Like, what do you think? And then they can be like, well, we like this part, and this part. Maybe change that a little, or
well, then it has
whatever.
to go to the level designers and the animators.
Yeah,
and what
exactly.
have you,
Yeah,
and they have to actually make it real.
Yeah,
It literally never occurred to me that the people making that art weren't the ones who created the creatures in their own mind.
I'm sure there's some overlap, but generally speaking, no. It's a separate credit on the credits.
that's like a whole job as concept artist for video games.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be a guy with no art skills.
Mm-hmm.
You can come up with cool monsters, and then you tell somebody who could do the art.
Yep.
Do art, right?
I'm pretty sure it's a growing path for like art majors in college.
Oh yeah, it's a huge thing.
they'll get like their undergrad or whatever and associates, and then they'll specialize in concept art design for movies and for like storyboarding and for games and stuff.
No way.
It's generally the same skill set, and then they'll just be that's their job, and that's awesome.
Varies from like sketching, like just doodles almost, to like full on, almost like paintings, but it could be digital.
Holy shit! Some of this is like it's just straight up pieces of art.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like this one again.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like a mask of a face above a fountain in a. It almost looks like an Italian city with pieces of the buildings floating away.
Mm-hmm.
I would hang this up, and of course, the artist signed it, right? So,
signatures on all of them, I think.
that's the thing that always gets me is how much effort is put into these paintings, these drawings, these sketches. I guess, but see, I was already under the misconception that the people who have the ideas are the ones painting it. So I figured it was like one thing that they did as another part of their job. But I guess basically you like contract the artist.
Yeah.
I need this by such and such time, and then.
It'd be really interesting to get someone on who could totally clarify that process. But generally speaking, yeah, like there's the concept artist, and then there's the level designer, the weapon designer, the animation, and it's often more than one person.
Mm-hmm.
So far, all the signatures for this concept art look like they've been the same signature. But
It's exactly like
there's
the
been
logo.
about three different artists that I've caught onto.
It's exactly like the logo when we were making it. 'Cause I did the artwork and I kept showing you, like, okay, so this is this option and the second thing. Like, what do you think? Which way do you want to go? And you'd be like, oh, I like this part, but I want the font bigger, or like there should be something down here. There's empty space. Like I'm picturing this in my mind, like the lasers from their enemies' guns. Like it's basically that. It's just you're coming up with characters or environments.
Yeah, that's actually not even the first thing that I have commissioned you to do.
Right.
I asked Genevieve to make a banner for an old boss of mine because he really liked tiki theme, and he had a tiki bar out back of his house. So we made. I asked G to make a banner. It had like a guy in a bamboo jail cell. So the bars were made out of bamboo, and he's like leaning through, holding a beer bottle of my boss's favorite kind of beer, and then it just said his name, like apostrophe S, outdoor tiki bar now open. And that process, what did that take? Like 10 months to get through?
Similar to the logo situation. Where
Yeah. And I sort of felt like part of the slowness was a shortfall in my my specifications because I was like, I have a sort of a general idea, but you're way better at this art stuff than I am. Can we just make it happen? And both times we ran into a situation where we sort of just had to say, okay, now it's done. Like, I don't know if it's perfect. I don't know if it's what either of us saw in our heads, but now it's done. You were explaining to me this feeling that you get where it's never done, right? Can you explain? Can you go into that a little bit?
I think we've talked about it a bit before, but just the feeling that like when I am working on a project, like I get so far into it and I'm fixing every little detail, and then like fix one thing, I have to go back to the other part where for some reason what I just did no longer really works with that, so you have to fix that and edit other things. And like you can tell what the drawing is. It's not a mess. You can see like it's a person or whatever the subject is. Everything looks decent enough, and you could say it's finished, but for whatever reason I can't put the brush down. Like there's always something I want to improve on it. But at a certain point, it has been like months, and maybe it's just time to move on to something else. Like, and I think, Jake?
It's the same story with music.
Yeah.
I think it's a common artistic problem of not wanting to share something that you've created yourself with other people until you're sure it's done. And it's so easy to, because I mean, most listeners already know that I do the music for the podcast as well as my own. They're really just cuts of the music I make for myself. And that stuff, I mean, like the things you hear in the interludes on these episodes and at the end and everything, they're like old, rougher cuts. Okay, I'm still working on them, and I will probably work on them forever until I have $5 or $10 to put out an LP that will never sell. So you know, like it's just a thing with being artistic at all and like creating things from scratch like that you just get. It's so easy to get locked into that rut. And you just have to pull the ripcord at some point, or it'll never be called done. If you
now don't. That leads me to two questions. One is being able to pull the ripcord and say you're done a learned skill?
I would think so.
Maybe. I mean, I went to school for music, so there were deadlines and due dates,
right?
And you have to turn it in. The flip side of that being that because oftentimes these were assignments, I didn't necessarily have the same like emotional attachment necessarily, but usually I did. So it was kind of hard. Like, oh yeah, here's this thing. It's like, and me, my first impulse, like talking with the professor or whatever, is to start pointing out all the things I wish I had done. And it's like, dude, stop it. Shut up.
Just let them listen.
Let them take it in. They'll evaluate. They have no idea what's in your head. They'll probably think it's great. Shut up. That's what that is a learned skill.
Yeah.
And it's almost the same thing, I guess.
So, do you guys do the artists in the room? I know there's more than all you guys. Do you have anything that you say is? Have you ever been done? Have you ever been done anything that didn't have a deadline? It was just sort of a pet project.
I have.
Yeah. One of the songs that we've heard, or
some of my classical pieces.
Okay.
I've put a very fine bow in it. I had the Bucks County Community College concert choir, BC. To this power of 6, perform it, and that, I get the recording, whether it's good or bad, and I'm like, okay, it's wrapped up.
All right. Good night, Irene. What about you, G?
Jake?
G.
G. Okay.
G.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I am not Jake.
Allegedly.
I know it's
I thought we were
confusing
name
because we look
swapping
just
now.
alike.
Who would you be? Who would you be, Frank? If you could
I'd
switch-
still be Frank.
You'd be the other Frank, though. You'd be
Yeah.
you'd
Other
be
Frank?
Danny DeVito Frank.
Frank number 3.
You demoted again.
Demoted. Oh my god.
For the record, Frank 1 is not named Frank, but he's a superior Frank to Frank. So he has the
Some would say
higher rank of
some would say
higher Frank rank.
that Frank number 1 is the most Frank, which is actually a lower level of being.
What in the fuck?
I don't know what's happening.
One does not want to be the frankest Frank.
I was trying to say like NEGA Frank, like Nega Frank, but I really was unsure what that would sound like on the microphone.
Nega
what?
Frank.
What Frank? Like, sort of like I had an Italian teacher, and she was Scottish, teaching us Italian in America. And one time she's talking about how much work she had, and she goes, "Oh, I'm knackered," but she said that in her accent, and everybody in the room goes, What the fuck did you just say? Like, was that like a word? Is that one of the words?
Did you just use the N-word as a verb?
Yeah. What are you saying? She's like,
As an
what?
adjective?
Yeah, knackered. We're like, whoa. So turns out it's like, she
a
goes,
word over there?
like a horse, knackered.
Like a horse.
It's what happens when like they're
For
old.
knackered.
You send them to the glue factory. Truly bizarre.
Anyway.
Yeah. So there's different versions of Frank. New lore. All right.
Yeah.
You'll have to go over the reading.
This is old lore.
Oh.
But we'll go into it another time.
Okay.
G, I believe we cut you off.
No, it's okay. I think most of the time I can't say that there is a project that I've finished or been done with that wasn't a deadline. There's a lot of times when I think like I've done a sketch and the sketch turns out better than the final product. And I get mad at myself for that because I'm like, well, why did I even bother doing the whole thing if it just looks better as a sketch? Like that took 5 minutes and now I spent days on this other thing that looks shitty by comparison.
It's XP. You leveled up.
Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah. Everything that you do, you're getting a little better in some way, right? Even if you're not improving your technique, you're getting more practiced at it. That's how I always look at this kind of shit. I was just having this conversation with somebody about some sport the other day. But so there's different things that I've made. Like I'll write short stories every once in a while, and I've started to get back into it. But once I write it, I almost never go back because like I feel like I know I should. Eventually I should, or I'll have somebody read it over and be like, okay, this part sounds stupid. But it sort of captures whatever emotion I had in that moment. And I feel like if I go back, I just dilute it, you know. But then again, when I write software, and it's not artistic, but it's still something I'm making and I'm proud of. That's never done. I just had a project recently. I'm like, oh, I want to go back and make it do this. I wanted to make it like not dog shit code. I want to put comments in and I'll do all this
You
stuff.
can clean it up. You can do the comments to let people know what's going on.
Right. And my boss is like, well, you don't have funding for that, so do not waste your time. What are you going to do? One time, though, I sculpted something. A couple times I sculpted it. And those things were done. I made a bull with a nose ring, so that was cool, and devil's wings. And then this other time I made a vase, and it was a pretty cool concept. It was like a brown clay vase, and a snake came out, and I drew the little spikes on this snake, and then I made them bigger and bigger go up and over the handle, which was the snake's body. It ended up looking like dog shit, but when I finished, I was like, this is done. This is as good as it's going to get. I'm proud of this.
When you said I made a vase, it was a cool concept. I was desperately hoping you were going to add, it's like hollow with an open top. You can put things in it. I was like, just let him talk.
But I gave it to my mom. She likes it, as moms are wont to do.
My mom still has shit I made in the first grade art class, dude. Hanging up on the wall forever.
My mom has boxes of my drawings in our storage room. And she's like, well, they're for you when you move out. I'm like, I don't want them. What am I going to do with them?
Burn?
I didn't even know I had them until like a few years ago. And she's like, well, they're for you. Like, what am I using my like stick figure drawings for? Like,
You're
what do
gonna
you
frame them and put them all over your house?
yeah, apparently.
Right in the foyer.
Maybe she's thinking I'll be like a famous artist
A
and
huge
die, and then that too. I can be more than one thing.
Oh man, I read a good joke about narcissists on Reddit.
Please butcher it for us.
I will. There are a lot of support groups for people who are raised by
Moms.
narcissists. But what about people who are narcissists? What about me? I stole that from some like up and coming comedian. That's a shame. I can't credit them.
I don't think.
Google it.
Would it really be possible to be a narcissist and a comedian?
Why?
Yes.
Why wouldn't?
I don't know if
wouldn't
you'd be technically funny though, right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
Like almost every good comedian I've had has like basically hated themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Does Dan Cook hate himself?
He should.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Fuck you, Dane.
Guys, we're losing sponsors.
Dane was our one guy who played our thing over and over again. That's how we got our views.
Yeah.
He's pissed. Him and Carlos Mencia
Oh, Jesus. sitting
around listening to us. But back to the concept art. You know, when I was younger, I never took the time to look at it, and it's one of those things. The older I get, and the more I learn to appreciate it. I just wonder if there's. I do wonder if there's ever really a satisfaction for the people who produce the concept art watching it ultimately shake out in the end.
I was going to say, it's got to be so rewarding because, I mean, just across the board. Because, I mean, I've played Devil May Cry before, and this artwork, the game developers did an incredible job of taking a still, lifeless painting and giving it, you know, the levels breathe, they interact, they do all of these things, and like we're going through this concept art for the game, and I'm just like, I feel like having played the game, I feel like I can see everything moving, I can see what they intended. So it really is kind of a two-step process, really, if you think about it. There's this like still art that that a totally different style of artist brings completely to life. It's just incredible.
There must be so many points. I think we're describing the path that leads to a truly great game, and there must be so many points of pride along the way. You know, somebody who came up with a great idea and they're proud of that. Somebody who made concept art of somebody else's great idea and they did a great job. There's pride in that. Then the actual person who creates the models and the scenes in the game does a great job and is proud of that.
The animators who give those pictures motion.
Bring them to life. The script writers who make all the game events happen. The marketers who made it popular. The publishers. Like, if everybody adds a little bit of their own thing and honors the ideas before them, then I guess that's how you end up with something so incredible as, you know, Devil May Cry or anything else.
And this concept, this game, I should say, Devil May Cry lends itself especially to what you were talking about, Chris, because of its level design, right? So I would wager that the level design, the whole, you guys have seen me play quite a bit of it, where, you know, the Dante gets sucked into limbo and the real world starts to just fragment and buildings start, you know, elongating and breaking apart and just pieces just floating in the air. And it's platforming really, but it's done in a really stylistic way. And that's reflected in the concept art. And you can almost, having played the game and now looking back at this art, you can see like these chunks of building off on the right over here. You can almost see them like shattering and floating away, and you having to like negotiate them somehow or something like that. Just really, really effective. I mean, it's a testament looking back on the art after playing the game. It's definitely a testament to the animators and the model designers and everyone who worked on the game itself to capture like this concept art. I don't think I've ever seen concept art come so close to the final product.
Yeah, that was going to be another thing I was going to.
Looks like a Batman game.
Yeah,
the scene we just switched to, high cathedrals in a city.
We should look at the Batman art after this.
It's close to the concept art in execution.
I think so. I mean, I remember now. I know.
Chris was rocking and rolling. I was asking him to continue.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, I was going to say because a lot of times, like, I mean, because concept art is just that. It's just it is concepts. So a lot of times you'll see like you could see what they were going for, but you can see it's definitely not the same, like not the final product at all. But this is like they really took this artist's vision and ran with it.
I wonder if it's always been this way. Like back in the 80s when all you had were, you know, 16-bit or 32-bit capabilities, was the concept art as detailed as we're looking at these, you know, art pieces?
Well,
in
look
front
at
of
Star Wars. Just going back to the original Star Wars back in 1977. If you look at that concept art, it's very different than what the final movie was. But I mean, you also have to consider like budget restraints, costumes, like what is practical, what's not practical. So like it may look incredible in an artistic standpoint, but you have to think what also finally becomes practical in terms of the final creation.
Now, do you think that's what actually happened, you know, back in the 80s when you couldn't make something look almost photorealistic? Or was there a turning point when they went, we're close enough, I'm going to really go ham on this concept art?
Well, these aren't even
well, I mean, like I said, the Star Wars concept art is very detailed if you look at it.
Because
like look at the famous, like the most famous one is the C-3PO R2D2 one right there. I mean, that's not what we.
But
got.
you get it. You get
Yeah,
that.
so
you see
know that
what
scene.
what their intent is.
So it looks like it's a version of C-3PO with like.
It looks very like Metropolis. if you
Yeah,
remember that
more like a
movie.
Rocketeer or something.
Yeah.
But it is. Oh, it's from 1977. There you go. There's a
That's
concept
the original
art.
That is the original. Even the original Darth Vader concept art is very different. We're just be glad we got the Vader we did.
Oh,
That wasn't it. It's like a more like
Because I saw something. I think it was the original level for Super Mario planned out, and it was just little blocks filled in on a graph paper. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
completely practical.
right. They
But I wonder
probably
if
knew it
somebody
was
was
going
like,
to happen.
I wonder if we have like a incredibly well drawn concept of a short Italian plumber with a big mustache.
I feel like if anything, it would have just been in cartoon drawings, like not realistic, but
Mario became Italian because they added a mustache to give him features.
that's all it was.
That's
right.
all it was.
They needed something to distinguish between his nose and I think his mouth.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and the
It was
rest of
just something to break up his face to give him some features.
Yeah.
He was not designed as an Italian plumber.
Apparently, mustaches are Italian.
But
I guess
Apparently-
so.
well, they made
I
that
don't
joke
know.
on Family Guy.
I
What
suppose
mustaches
they
make
did.
you Italian?
Yeah. Up at a boopy.
Oh, okay. So
Boopity-boppity.
we're looking at concept art. I guess it's Vader looking down to the left of that one. Yeah, right there.
Yeah,
I guess
the
it's
famous
Vader
scene.
looking down.
It's Luke.
That drop where he cuts off Luke's hand.
it's
or whatever.
it's Cloud City, in the whatever you call it, the spire right before Luke gets his hand cut off
Yeah.
in the second movie.
Yeah.
This reminds me.
Second
There was
original trilogy.
a Star Wars game that they were gonna come out with. Shit, I can't remember the name. It would have been. Well, I didn't know we were gonna talk about Star Wars, but there was like a demo video and they have some playtime. It was a gritty, I think third-person shooter, and you had like a partner, and it basically goes down. I don't know if you've ever seen the concept of these cities that are basically just holes in the ground, and they're like 2,000, 3,000 levels down into the ground, and the further down you go, the shittier and slummier they get. And basically, that was what it was. Like, you had to go rescue this girl from the 1,000th level, or the game might have even been like level 927, and you got to go rescue this girl. But you go down, and then these gangsters start shooting you with blasters, and you fight your way off this exploding ship, and then you end up fighting your way through all these different levels. And I catch myself saying that concept sounds amazing, and it was gritty. It basically ran into video game hell with a transition between companies, and somebody axed it.
But it was a Star Wars game?
Yeah. It was like one I've never seen. But I'm reminded now that sometimes you even get demo reels of things that are really just concepts. I mean, how many videos have we seen of games? I feel like this used to happen more in like the 90s and the early 2000s. You'd get a little video of gameplay and like, this game's going to come out, and then you just never hear from it again.
Kingdom Hearts 3. Excuse me.
So on the idea of concept stuff, what do you guys think about concept cars? I've never really...
Concept cars?
I'm too poor to think about it. I'm already going into debt just thinking about it.
I've never really understood...
Credit score is falling. Help.
I never really understood the actual practice, because these cars look amazing and go, okay, I want to buy that. And they're like, no, it's just a concept. It's like, I guess it's like high fashion. What is the point? Like, they're not selling those clothes that these models are wearing, are they? They're just showing off like what they can come up with.
I think they are.
Yeah, they're
sale.
like car engineer / stylists, kind of wet dreams basically.
I think
Sometimes
the
they're
idea
functional, usually
behind
not.
concept cars is like that's the direction they're taking a line of cars over the next 10 to 15 years. So like, hey, this is what we think the future, like the near term or medium term future of cars will look like. Or like the our mid-sized sedan. So like, remember the most famous one I think was for the Audi that Will Smith drives in iRobot.
Yeah.
It looks sweet. Like, I think Audi, that's like where they plan on taking their cars by 2030.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot for video games. It seems pretty simple to me to appreciate concept art, because if nothing else, there's it's drawn or painted art, and I'm used to looking at that and being like, oh yeah, this is good. All this other stuff, I'm sure it is really impressive. I just have no idea how to appreciate it. And that's sort of one of my goals as I get older, is learn how to appreciate more things in my life, right? Like music that I never really got into, like jazz. I don't know shit about jazz. Wow. Do you think anything off the top of your head that's been like that? Anything that you've learned to appreciate more as you got older? And
rap music.
Really?
Yeah. I was in high school. I was a rap is crap kind of guy, and the more I've exposed myself to it, the more I realize that, like so many genres, there's lots of diamonds in the rough.
Yeah.
And there's lots of crap around it that you have to navigate through. Like, I mean, I'm a big metalhead. Same story with metal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, boring or bland or, not to shit on any band in particular, but, some people like that stuff. It's the reason why things are popular that don't do much for me. But there's like really much higher brow, more interesting rap out there that I just wasn't aware of. And now I am. And I listen to it regularly.
There is the thing that I see where I'm on the other end, where I sort of appreciate it more than the other people watching it, not to sound like an elitist or anything, but it's ground game, like ground fighting in mixed martial arts. And I've seen this with G, when she'll watch the fights with me. We'll watch them together, and I know it's boring because it looks like they're just kind of tugging on each other.
Like there's a lot of hugging going on
right,
the
but
floor.
I can sort of talk to him like, look, he's working his hand into position because he wants to try to reverse it this way so that he can swing his hips and then he can do this thing. And really the appreciation that comes for an essentially boring hugging match on the ground is the anticipation of what these guys are working towards and the incredible technique that they know. Like they just know so much and how much they can counter. And I guess that's what we see in these concept cars and even demos for games and stuff. Speaking of which, we talked about game demos recently, right?
Ish, yeah.
Yeah. Did
Or when?
they still put those out? But a lot of things are coming out in like beta trial now, right?
Yeah. FIFA puts out a demo every year that you can play. You'll get to play like 4, maybe 8 teams tops.
Devil May Cry had a demo. It was 1 level and 1 boss fight.
That's pretty cool.
It's something.
I know I've played demos too where it's like a feature that I'm excited about and it gets cut out in the end or something.
Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, if anybody doesn't have any,
concept art. I can't believe I don't know why I've just thought of this. Kate Upton sued Rockstar for that picture that they had. It was like on the cover of GTA 5, I think it was.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 4. No, it was 5. Of some like woman with big tits and like a skimpy shirt and a lollipop like bending over. She said that looked like her too much, so she sued Rockstar, and a judge just dismissed it. That was like, no, that just looks like a woman.
That's just a person.
Somebody went and picked out another model and said
It's her.
No, it's actually this model
Yeah.
that they don't have to pay very much. So, it's surprising to me that you could make that claim on somebody so famous.
You can see her on the cover photos, but it's not a very good like shot of her.
I don't even know if like
there you go.
that qualifies as concept art.
Well, they actually put it in the game, right?
Yeah. Exactly. That's why.
Oh, it does actually look quite a bit like her.
Oh yeah.
There are distinct differences, though.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe they based her boobs off of Kate Upton, but her face off of someone.
Her face
with
is
a-
nothing like hers.
Yeah, her face is
boobs.
Like, how much of somebody's body are you actually allowed to rip off? Be like, oh, see the gentle curve of the bottom of her breasts. That is my client's breast bottom.
Breast bottom.
Yep.
Under boob.
Yep. Wow, that's her belly button. I'd recognize my client's belly button anywhere.
Wouldn't be a bad jury to sit on, though.
Right? Speaking of which, this is only sort of related. Stormy Daniels. She said she could describe the president's penis.
Great.
Wow.
How do we audit this description if it's given?
That is the real question.
So do you have to bring another party in to
Mr. President,
to
please
view
drop
the
trout.
penis?
Well, that someone, yeah, Mr. President, whip it out. Let's go. Like, and
don't
I
think it
think
would
there's
make
no
much of a
way a
noise.
description could ever hold up in court,
like he's
right?
still
Unless
with
you're
you,
like an
though.
exhibitionist, because you'd be bashful,
Mhm.
and then it wouldn't look very malleable situation.
Well, he is the most presidential president we've ever had, so
Mm.
it's about time to take him down a rung.
Well, no, this happened to Michael Jackson. Somebody
Also a noted U.S. president.
Yes, exactly right.
From beyond the
Very
grave.
politically sound person.
I would vote
It's
for him
terrifying.
now, currently.
What, Michael
Michael
Jackson's
Jackson?
president?
Yeah.
Wait, now as a dead person, you would vote
I would
for
vote
him?
for him too. Michael Jackson 2019.
I wonder if there are any rules against that.
But-
There are.
I bet there's no
Let's make it a
Definitely.
write-in.
There's no rules. You can't vote for a dead person.
Pretty sure there is.
Well,
Well, it's not that you can't do it, but
you
like,
just have to be over 35.
And alive?
No.
Do you still count as a citizen if you're dead? Because you have to be a natural U.S. citizen.
Oh, that is a
I
good.
believe you
question.
no longer count as a natural person.
Yeah.
But you had to be a person to be a citizen.
Exactly.
Whoa. We need to get a lawyer
Yes.
up in here.
You have to be an
I'm a lawyer.
elephant to be a person.
Whatever. All right.
I'm the best lawyer.
Have we concluded concept art?
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
All right.
If the condom doesn't fit,
What?
Take a shit.
Oh.
I'm just no. What? I can't save this.
You're
Why
right.
do you want to?
You are correct.
Okay, here's your segue. A concept. Someone had a concept to make this game that G and I played.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna get started. So the
I
game.
don't think they even did anything beyond concept. It was just concept into this game.
No, they definitely drew stuff.
Well, we're around the 45-minute mark. Do we want to
All
go
right.
into this now or take a break?
Let's take a break.
Ooh, okay. Reserve the whole seat, but you're only going to need the edge because this upcoming segment is going to be so exciting.
I love
it sounded like you
upcoming.
just said nut coming.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
would be more
this
exciting.
That
nut
is what he said.
coming.
Nut
That is pretty
coming.
That's what I.
exciting.
That's what he
All
said.
right.
I mean, maybe.
I feel like
I don't
we-
know.
I feel
This
Catch
is
you on the
some.
flip side. End it.
It's
End
some
it here. It's
risky
over.
material.
Permits for that.
We're still recording. Fuck you, Bill. Fuck you, Bill. Fuck you, Bill.
I see you.
Welcome back. And as the pinnacle of professionalism we are going to revisit a topic that we thought we had closed out because we forgot stuff. Chris, you wanted to touch on some interesting concept art and a particular artist.
So I was just kind of like meandering around the interwebs as I do because I'm the most interesting man in the world and I just browse at the internet a lot. And I stumbled across some artwork by a guy named Jakub Rzalski. It's
My long lost cousin.
yeah, his name is
Strong
spelled with a K.
Chinese name.
But he's an artist, and he his style is a lot of fantasy, but there's a lot of history behind it too. He has a whole series of artwork that he does called his world is called 1920 plus. And it's basically a lot of things take pretty much what was going on in the 1920s, you know, the war and all the other goodies going on in the time, the Nazis, and the plus is that he takes these concepts of the 1920s, but he makes it into like a fantasy style world.
So plus means extra.
I guess that's where he was going with that.
1920s
That's the
extra.
assumption I made. And so basically this game developer was kind of like they wanted to make an RTS, so they said and they didn't know what kind of a world they wanted to do. They stumbled across this guy's artwork.
Hold on. Can we review what an RTS is really quick?
Real-time strategy game. Frank, I think you probably are pretty familiar with this game type. Would you mind?
Yeah.
Defining one.
Generally, you build a base. You're given units to build a base, gather resources to keep building, and you build up an army to go conquer everybody else. It's
So like
real
Civ.
time, yeah. But the real time in real time strategy means that everything is occurring all at the same time. It's not turn based like Civ, where each individual player has their own particular turn where no one else can do anything.
Right. So it's like a certain event within the game can take 10 seconds, and it's 10 actual seconds. So, please continue, Chris.
So they contacted Jakub Brzezowski, and we're like, hey, we really like this artwork. We're gonna let's work together and create a world and make a game. So they so at this point they created a team and they started developing this game. And it's called Iron Harvest, and it actually looks pretty friggin' sweet. And I'm not really one to play RTSs anymore, but I'm pretty compelled to play this game. In terms of the development of it, it looks beautiful. I love this guy's artwork to begin with already. I've looked through his entire catalog, and I'm even going to purchase some of his some prints of his already because I'm just so in love of I really like the 1920s. I like World War II. I like just anything involving any of the world wars really. And just the style. And then I'm also a fantasy person.
It's a bear.
It is a Soviet bear. Actually it's probably Nazi bear more than anything, but so it was just a really cool conglomerate of things that I enjoy. So I'm very interested in this game. And so then they started creating this game based on this artwork, and then they have a Kickstarter out there right now, and they've passed 1 million a few times apparently.
Really?
And there's going to be a lot of and if they hit another marker, I think there's some free DLC coming with it.
Ooh.
And there's a lot of stuff going on with the multiplayer. Oh yeah, there's the 1 million.
Iron
there's
Harvest
just one.
1920 plus classic real-time strategy.
Yeah, but it seems to from what I've been gathering without looking at the Kickstarter directly, it's definitely gaining a lot of traction. It says classic real-time strategy, but I watched the trailer of it. They seem to be adding a lot of newer. They actually surveyed a lot of RTS players to see what they wanted. So apparently there's going to be a lot of new features and new takes on the RTS style of gaming. Like I said, it's been a long time since I really invested my own time into an RTS, but this one I'm very compelled. It's a lot of things that I enjoy. I'm definitely compelled to play this on my own.
So what's interesting about one of the things that is interesting about this is they were pretty ambitious with their Kickstarter to start off. $450,000 goal.
Yeah.
That's not messing around, right?
Nope,
They said,
no.
all right, we're going to do this, and we're going to be super serious about it. The second thing that I find exciting, for somebody who's an arm's length away from it compared to you, there is so much art already. Right?
Yeah.
Which means
Well,
that
this was
somebody
already-
really gives a shit about this game.
Yeah, well, this was already art that was it was already completed. This was concept art that was just done, and they stumbled upon it and were like, "This is what we want for the RTS we want to make."
Oh, I thought he made more.
Well, no, I
Maybe.
guess so.
Maybe.
Yeah, they probably did, but the base concept of the world of 1920 plus had already been completed, and then he helped also to. Because they're obviously this Jakub Brzezowski's. These are already his characters, so he helped mold the storyline as well.
So, as
That's
far as
actually
I'm
really
familiar
cool.
with steampunk is what the world would be if we had moved beyond steam power for everything. I think that's the idea.
I think that's the general.
This is 1920s tech version of steampunk to me. That's sort of there's probably a term for it, but I certainly don't know it. So
Retro futuristic.
Really?
most of the time
it's
that
more
I see,
generalized.
yeah. Most of the time I see that it's from the 50s, right? But
yes,
That
but
also
it-
includes all the even the original Star Trek might fall under that.
Yeah.
interesting.
Retro futuristic.
So,
Huh.
but what I'm looking at here is what looks to be a mech. It's a mech based off of what I would expect a Soviet tank to look like at the time, right? And there are green mechs that look like Shermans, but they walk around on 4 legs. And the juxtaposition is so very, very cool because in this art, it's like giant mechs set across rolling green fields with no technology in sight, save for a small village in the background and a woman wearing a white dress as the wind blows the smoke coming from the top of this mech that stands alone in a field. The contrast, I'm always struck by it. And the interesting thing about this art is that it certainly doesn't depend fully on like shocking the viewer or anything like that. Like, wow, this looks so weird. No. If you were to take out the remarkable technology or whatever they were drawing, the rest of the scene is still engaging too.
Yeah, like I mean, remember when I initially sent this to us when I first stumbled upon this, was that this artist is really good at creating tension.
Yeah.
And what is a battle in a game is it's tension.
Mm-hmm.
And this concept, it really gives the developers a lot to work with, because I mean, look at the size of, like, you know, the regular guy and his dog in this particular one, and then the size of the mech, and then just for scale, look at there's some soldiers that are having a campfire underneath it. Like the pure scale alone and the depth of the scene is creating so much tension. Like this is this guy's like first like detailed look, and he's like, oh shit, I'm probably gonna have to fight this thing.
Right.
Like this probably looks like a solid boss battle that's about to come up.
So the you sent me you sent the group an example of the art that you wanted to get. It was a guy with a tall top hat, like a stove pipe top hat or whatever they're called, standing there with a gun, looking at across a stream at a werewolf standing in the snow and blood all over the snow, and they're just, the werewolf and the man are just staring at each other,
down.
And I was like, yeah, all right.
It's like, I mean, you're looking at that picture, and tell me you can't hear the water in that creek flowing.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me you can't feel the nip in that cold air with the snow around you, and just I keep referring back to it, the word tension, tension and release. The breadth of this artwork is just like it's like you're fighting the werewolves in Skyrim.
Yeah.
You know, just to bring in another example. You know, just it's just so cool how, you know, a still can be turned into, you know, a video game like this. I keep going back to that.
Yeah.
But that's just what's so mind blowing.
There's so much.
Is it Ron Howard that says he bases all of his movies based off of pictures that he sees?
I don't know. Never heard
I think that's Ron
I've
Howard.
heard that before. I think you're
like
right.
he'll see a picture and he'll get an idea for a movie. I wonder if there's like that. This is the video game version of that.
I see
Maybe.
pictures of naked ladies and get ideas for movies.
Oh boy.
Giggity.
I don't know, man. We didn't have a joke for a while. I'm sorry.
We were getting too serious, and I'm
Sorry
not
for
asking.
being
It was-
super thorough.
It was an okay
Opportunity
joke.
dive.
You can try again later.
Okay, thanks. I get another attempt.
Yeah, and then that's it.
Collectively, thumbs down.
Mulligan.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not enough to disqualify you from the
Okay.
rest of your
Well,
jokes.
merciful at least.
So grenade.
Yeah.
No, I'm not ready for the
Just
grenade.
pull that pin out.
One of the interesting things I think about this artwork that we're looking at is it includes so much nature. So, and you know, in the top left of our screen, we're looking at a stream flowing through a flat area between the trees and the water with like brown grasses that are. It's getting cold, so the grasses are dying. I've walked that before. You know, I've been in the woods. I've been through the field that runs along the water. Actually, the one to the left of that. Sorry. And you know, I've seen the animals across the way. I've seen the old rickety bridge, and for whatever reason, I guess this is sort of impressionist, but because it's not. I don't know.
I would say more surrealist than impressionist.
Surrealist. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, yeah.
It looks close enough to make me be able to relate my experience. You know what I mean? I can see myself in this environment, but I've never seen a mech standing in the tree line, and there's something sort of, it makes me uncomfortable in an exciting way, because I've already imagined myself 85% in this situation. Then I have to imagine if there was a big monster robot, ready to blow me away or
Which
whatever.
somehow only accounts for 15% of the situation.
Yeah.
but no, you're
Everything else
absolutely
is
right
totally
because and I guess that's the whole idea of what he's doing is because he's taking something that's all things really that are familiar. But then there's like that little bit of sprinkle of fantasy in there, like just enough because that's not real.
Right.
That's not like there's no
But it's on the internet.
Tripedal tanks like coming at you, hanging out in the middle of the woods by a creek and a rickety bridge.
I'm sorry, I'm with Genevieve. It's on the
internet. It's real.
It's real.
Oh, that's right.
No. The rule it's rule 32, right? Or 34? 34.
If it exists.
If it exists, there is porn of it.
That's rule 34.
So there's going to be porn of
Yeah.
this because this exists
no.
and it's real.
if it's real, there is porn of it. If there is not porn of it, it is not real.
I guarantee you someone's made porn of this.
Okay, then it exists. But if there's not porn, then this isn't real.
There's definitely Russian grizzly bear porn.
Well, okay, we know
There we
that
go.
these bears exist. With the mech, the three-legged mech back there.
Soviet bear.
We're not sure about.
All right,
Wait, okay,
listeners,
there's
new mission. You all have to find tripod robot bear porn.
fan art. Send it to our email.
That's just your fan art.
Send it to our, no, you can
And your
email
clip
this
art.
to us. 2gunsnoammo@gmail.com, right?
You just open the floodgates.
I don't know when
Please.
the last time we checked that was even. We
Please.
might have tons of content in there.
Please send us.
Okay,
Everything.
I'm gonna keep rolling here. But aside from all the things about this art that we've mentioned, there seems to be sort of an oppressive air over all these paintings. Even the nice one with the green field. I feel like I'm gonna end up describing
They're cult.
a
They're
number
cold
of
temperatures.
Call of Duties where they just made everything like brown or gray, but these colors are sort of, I guess, drab, and it almost feels oppressive. I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you were saying.
So yeah, all the paintings we've looked at, or all the images we've looked at so far, are all cool temperatured, meaning there's no bright reds or any like warm colors.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of gives that like somber, sad, wintry, cold feeling. Even here, there's like a little orange yellow in the grass, but it's still not. It's not vibrant.
Yeah.
There's some of his other artwork that involves fire.
Right.
But another thing too, I mean, look at going back to scale. I very briefly touched on it, but look at how
The banana.
but it's look at how like what you would call, like, I guess the average person would call the good guy is the little guy, and the enemies are these massive characters with massive walkers and stuff, and I guess that's a common theme
In games?
if you look at theme and I guess pop culture and in general. I mean, look at Star Wars. The Death Star was the biggest weapon in the galaxy.
Right.
It's the enemy always seems to have the big gun, but it's always the little guy that always seems to win.
So, do we actually have any screenshots of the game itself up here?
They're there. They're definitely there somewhere amongst this.
Have you
Oh
seen
wait,
any,
what's
like,
that bear picture?
game-
I've actually seen clips of gameplay, and it does look quite sharp. I think they did a very good job at capturing the spirit of this artwork.
Wow, that does look good.
Ooh, it looks very good.
They definitely put in a lot of time to the image,
And
and they definitely paid homage to this person's art, to Mr. Rosalski's artwork.
Man, when they have pictures close up of the models of the little units themselves, showing every detail, it just points to me that somebody gave a shit. And I think we've talked about this before. I really think what separates a good game between a not good game is just people giving a shit.
Yeah.
Really, like, even if it's like a bad game, if somebody tried really hard, you can kind of tell. I mean, it's still pretty good in a way. You can
Right.
appreciate it for the effort, but yeah, this looks pretty great. I might have to get on this hype train here.
I
Although
wish I
still-
had a computer that could handle it, but I can already tell that mine wouldn't.
Oh, Frank.
maybe you just gotta get-
build a
Yeah,
computer.
no.
Come on. Just
do
don't
it.
travel to Pluto or whatever your next trip is and buy a computer.
Yeah, quit going on vacation all the time.
You hear that, Elon? Our trip is off.
Oh.
Wow.
Pluto.
I wonder, do you you and Elon wouldn't speak, you would just communicate through your embedded Bluetooth.
No, we're beyond Bluetooth. Bluetooth sucks.
Yeah, the second one on the bottom looks like it's a good clip of a battle in gameplay. Is that the same game?
I don't know.
That one.
We're at sub-millimeter waves now.
Oh,
Jesus. All right, listeners, we are looking at something and it looks cool.
it looks neato.
Don't you
burrito.
wish you could look at it too?
All right, I think. You want to give us any closing thoughts on this game? There, one last push for a Kickstarter or something.
Yeah, no. I mean, it looks great. I mean, I think their next. I think the next milestone is 1,500,000, and that was for free DLC for the game. They definitely seem like they're very generous in the content that they're trying to release. Unlike EA, fuck them. But I would definitely contribute. I would throw some money at this game. It looks like they deserve every dollar they're getting. It looks like a sharp game.
Do you know where they're based out of? Do you know where the company?
No, I didn't go that far into it. I was more compelled by the image of the game and the artwork and the surroundings rather than the studio themselves. But I probably should because they deserve recognition. They worked hard.
All right, very cool. Speaking of games that clearly have a lot of effort in them, GNI. Well, I'll start off. I got recommended a game by a coworker, MD, and when I say recommended, what I mean was he turned to me and said, "This is the worst game I have ever played."
So far, I back it up.
Yeah, and I said, "Huh? Well, why do you have it?" He goes, "Well, it's free." He told me it was basically art with words over it the whole game.
Yeah.
But it was free, and he said it took him about an hour. So I said, "Okay, you know what? I'll get up early. I'll get up early today, noon, and I'll try to get it done in an hour." So G and I started to play it, and we're about 2 hours in, and calling it a game is preposterous.
Too generous.
There is
Way
no
too generous.
gameplay unless clicking every 10 seconds is gameplay to you.
You literally all you do is click to make dialogue show up.
Okay, so when we turn this on, what were your initial reactions to this game, G?
Well, I didn't realize like it was supposed to be anime style because the first shot you see after the opening warning is like a realistic realistic setting
the warning,
for like
the warning.
Yeah, yes, before anything happens, there's a warning that Bill missed, but it was something along the lines of like, warning, this game contains sensitive material. If you are not equipped to deal with that, please like don't play this.
Yeah, if you can't get too emotional, don't play this.
Yeah, it was
this
emotional was
fucking
used
game.
in the terms or the phrasing. So I was like, okay, because all I knew going into this was that someone at work gave him this game to play, and it was going to take an hour. So I'm already like, all right, what the heck are we doing? And then it shows up the screen of like a schoolyard. No one's there. It's just like it looks almost painterly, like basically like the images we just saw, like concept art kind of. And there's nothing really there except at the bottom there's a bar that says like skip, save, load, and I think exit. So none of those things really worked at the time because I'm not going to save. Everything else is just starting the game. So I start clicking and there's just dialogue showing up. So like sentence shows up and then like 2 sentences in the next paragraph. And then there's like a full paragraph. But essentially you go through this whole life of this guy and his interaction with this girl.
Okay, so the title would have you believe that, you know, this lady is bad, right?
Yeah.
In the entire time we've been playing, the entire time being 2 hours, we're trying to figure out who the fuck made this game because it is bananas, and somebody's clearly got some sort of baggage they're carrying along.
It is ripe with spelling and grammatical errors.
Well, hold on. He's like, I remember way back in. This girl and I have been enemies not just in high school or middle school, but also elementary school.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's how far back it goes. I just want you to know that.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
We took some screenshots, or I took some screenshots of it because
we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
All right. Well, I'll pull them up so we're ready when we're ready.
So I'm like, okay, this person has got to be like in high school because I don't remember shit about elementary school. Like, I couldn't tell you a single thing.
Let alone having a rival in elementary school.
So it develops that this guy
Whose name is Tim.
We don't find out for like 20 minutes what his name is until somebody says it to him.
Yeah.
He starts talking about this girl that he's a rival with, and we see, there it is, a picture of a child with anime eyes, and he's talking about her eyes and how they're filled with some sort of evil, and he knows that, you know, there's a problem with her. So how does this guy define his identity? Foot races in phys ed. And guess who beats him consistently? This girl. He's like,
You mean this bitch?
Yes. Well, yeah.
He's like, oh, you know, I'm like pretty average, but this girl always beats me, and she taunts me with her eyes. And I'm like, you're like, it's a foot race in elementary school. But he's like, this was what is the acceptable level of conflict for him to begin
A rivalry.
Hatred.
Full on hatred.
For over a decade at this point. Over a decade. So, like, they're like, in elementary school, we hated each other and we competed in these foot races. And then, like, she always, like, smiled at him. And it taunted him. And he establishes their mutual conflict because one day some kids are playing King of the Hill on a mound of snow.
God damn it, Bobby.
Yeah. Right. That would have made it way better.
King of the Hill on a mound of snow, and our main character, Tim, must be King of the Hill.
And
so
it has been my dream to become King of the Hill.
He gets to the top of this mound of snow.
Alas, I did not sell enough propane.
And the girl tries to get up, and he fucking shoves the shit out of her. And he's like, I didn't just push her. I pushed her really, really hard.
Onto like the hard, cold ground.
Onto the hard ground.
You had me at really, really.
Yeah. Well, that's
not even
that's
hard.
Your typical level of
also at hard
description. Very,
it
really.
Gets better.
And like pushed her onto the ground, and she laid there for a while. But then she got up and was uncomfortable, and I could see in her eyes she knew we were rivals. I was like, this is
like what 7-year-old kid in elementary school is like this hype about fighting another classmate?
So like, okay, so they move on to middle school, and she starts to look like a woman. Apparently, it sounded like
Slightly,
a computer program trying to describe a woman beginning to develop.
So Frank,
without the program, the program is like, do not ever equal suspicion of pervert. Because he's like, she had her assets begin to develop, and she is beyond cute. She is starting to look beautiful, and she has certain curves on certain places.
Somewhere there was something about her
sounds
taking
way
on
creepier.
shapes of
she's taking on shape.
I get the distinct impression that you're just emulating Frank's mating call.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm starting to become more and more aware that Frank actually made this game.
And I'm sitting over here, I'm like stunned, and my jaw is on the ground.
You had to
I
pick
can't
your
believe
jaw
you're
up
saying,
just now.
Like, I can't believe the things that are coming out of your mouth. This is the game.
It's so bad how good it is. Like,
So
it's
we moved on to middle school.
Yeah.
And he's like, but then I started to become a better athlete, as men sometimes do.
basically he was like, my growing man body could like outcompete her stupid girl body.
Right.
And I became a basketball star and started beating her.
Like basketball.
Yeah, yeah.
He joins the
Alum
basketball
Canelo.
team in middle school and
The height
becomes
of athleticism.
popular
Yes.
because of it. Was anybody popular in middle school because of the team sports they played?
No.
I do not recall that. Not one. Maybe high school. Maybe.
No, but even the way he talked about being popular was like, clearly whoever wrote this has never been popular, because he was like, I tried to play the popular kid card. I just didn't care about it though.
Yeah, he's like, you know, I tried not to be too popular, but I just couldn't help myself because I was so popular. And he's like, I did it for 2 years, but then I needed to get serious about my stuff. He decides to move on to because he outpaces her physically. He must then defeat her academically. Now, mind you, he became the pinnacle of popularity in middle school because he was so good at basketball. After 2 years, he quit. He gave up that life. He gave up that life so that he could defeat her in studies. And I was
so far this is still just left click the game.
Yeah.
No, but the best part is like throughout like after elementary school, he only talks to her.
We're not there yet.
But I just want to say, like, he only talks to her like once every year or something like that. It's not like they're interacting on a daily basis.
Yeah.
He's just always like, she's always listed as top of the class, and I'm one behind her.
So this dude's just a fucking like school shooter.
Pretty much.
I was just gonna say, this is why the Japs have such strict gun laws.
Okay.
It's this guy right here. This is why.
El Japo.
El Japo.
Oh, okay. So he quit after 2 years and it becoming super popular in middle school. He quit so that he could beat her in studying. So we've established that this person is probably still like in high school or whatever. Now we know that they've, one, never been popular, and two, never played sports.
Whoa.
Because none of this is how any of this works.
None of this is real. None of this is real.
So he's
it's like an alien came down and was like, this is what people
I studied
think.
so hard. I studied and studied, and I started getting better and And then he starts talking about how much of a fucking loser he is because all he does is study and he has no life. And I was like, and that was really vivid and well described. It was like, I wonder. But don't worry, though. As he continued to study, women would throw themselves at him.
And he didn't have time because he needed to make time for studying.
He's like, based on his previous reputation in 2 years of middle school sports, these women were still seduced
In high school.
throwing them at him.
Still under his spell.
And he's like, no, if I have time to mess around with women or whatever, which might be a direct quote.
Yeah.
He's like, then I have more time to study. So that's all he did was study. So he progresses to the point. All of a sudden we're in high school. I don't remember the transition.
Yeah.
Apparently we are now in high school.
Pay attention.
And they show a more updated version of this really attractive rival. And at one point he's like, I made eye contact with her for the first time in a year and a half.
That's my kind of rival.
They go to the same school.
He still didn't interact with her for a year and a half.
He hates her. He just talks over and over how he hates her. This horrible.
His whole life is about hating this girl he doesn't interact with
like,
and
what?
studying harder than her.
I'm like, wait a minute. He hasn't looked at her in a year and a half, and Genevieve was like, no. He hasn't made eye contact with her.
It's totally different.
So he's gazed at her with hate in his eyes.
Yeah, and she just hasn't noticed or looked up at all.
Yeah, so at one point, he like, she gets a boyfriend, and he's fucking pissed. He's like,
No, he's not pissed because he's jealous. He's pissed because he's like, does this mean she's so good she doesn't have to take the time to study as hard as I do?
does she require less
what does
studying
this
than
mean
me?
for me?
Yeah.
Of her having a boyfriend.
He's too dumb to be competitive if she can have a love life and he can't.
So does he go and get a better boyfriend than her?
No.
That would make it better.
No.
But
No. Apparently this school puts out a list of the top 50 people in class.
Like on a regular basis at midterms and stuff.
And he goes to the list and he looks, and usually she's in the top 5 and he's in the top 10. She's not anywhere on the list. He's like, oh, what the fuck? So he approaches her in the hallway. And they finally look at each other, and he speaks to her, and he
like yells at her and accosts her in the hallway of the school.
This is a dramatic pause I need.
Okay.
He looks at her, and the text pauses, and he goes, "What the fuck?"
It's all caps and exclamation.
What the fuck? And she's like, what are you talking about? With a shy grin. I'm like, what? Like, and then he's like,
Someone yelled at
they're like talking, and then
But even like before that, he was like, I walked over to her with fury and like anger in my like. If someone comes at you like that and yells, "What the fuck?"
Stop, drop, and roll. I don't know.
and then
What are
he's
you
like,
talking
"You're
about?"
great," and she's like, "That's why you came over to talk to me." And I'm like, "Is he going to be insane at this point in the story?" And then
As
the
if
next
not
scene, the
before.
whole screen shakes. You hear, poof. And he's like, I grabbed her by the collar. So he grabs this girl's shirt and jacks her up against the lockers. Nobody reacts. The person writing this story thinks that this is normal. This is acceptable.
In a
I mean,
high
this
school
sounds
setting.
like my high school setting.
Yeah, and he's
Screaming
like-
at each other over
About
grades.
grades.
He's grilling her about why she's not good at grades, and she's like, "Ooh." I'm like, I don't care. And then her boyfriend comes over and goes, "Hey, Cassie, is this guy bothering you?"
No, but even
No
better than that,
shit.
he doesn't get a name. He's just man as a high school student.
Yeah, and the man comes over, and the writing
is this guy bothering you?
the writing is. He comes over and he puts his hand on my shoulder as if to a warning or some shit like that. Like you are assaulting this woman.
Yeah.
So somehow the situation diffuses and they don't talk again for years. He goes to college. Guess what his life has become?
Well, yeah, she dropped out of school too.
Oh my God, I forgot that
There
part.
was a whole thing where she dropped
He studied and studied and studied.
and then she wasn't there anymore.
He goes to the administrators because she's not on the list anywhere. Turns out she dropped out of school a month and a half ago. And he's extra mad because she so doesn't care about him that she dropped out of school.
Or she's so good she graduated early. Like,
No. That was revealed later.
Okay.
He just thinks it's all about him again, and she
Yeah.
quit because
she quit
she doesn't
school because she's better than him.
Yeah. So he goes away to school, and he
college.
doesn't. Yeah, he goes away to college, and he lives in a boring apartment. All he does is study because that's all he's ever known. Again, this part really well written and developed.
The studying and not seeing anyone ever, being alone.
So he like gets to talk about how he made a friend. This is where the story
Who's not
starts
really
to
a friend. He
fall
actually hates
apart.
him.
Yeah. He's not really a friend.
Wait, you mean the story hasn't fallen apart yet?
Oh no!
It got really good at the part where he was
It's-
talking about
it's-
how lonely and lame he was, and then it started falling apart again when we started talking about having a friend. So this friend,
There's so many ups and downs.
this friend organizes a meetup for him at like a local bar, and he's like, he goes, I don't know what the word for it is. Group date? Question mark? He's like, it's where an even number of females and an even number of males, like the same number, go to a place to meet and try to find love. And I'm like,
He's never been on a date before.
you've never been on a date in your entire life. And the next line he goes, but everybody knows it's really about trying to find someone to put a load in.
What?
Yeah.
What?
He's like the
paragraph-
most cynical, non-human asshole
The
ever.
end
Is the guy
of
who
the
wrote
paragraph, he's like, up to this point, I had never tried to have sex with anyone, which is
It just
probably
seemed-
why I don't have much of a sex life.
I got all these loads lying around. I gotta put them somewhere.
I don't know what to do with him.
I gotta.
Take it up
Hey,
in
you,
space.
broad, dumb broad, get over
Oh
here.
my God! So we transitioned to this meetup, and he's talking about, he's like, I decided to go because like all men, I want to fuck. I'm like, what? So he runs into these four women are there. One of them is fat, so he's like, right off the bat,
Bad, not
no.
an option.
The other
Can't.
one, the second one, has a big chin.
And goofy hair. He says that too.
A goofy hairdo, and he's like, so these two at the very beginning are unfuckable.
I think that's literally what he said.
That is literally
too.
what he said,
Unfuckable.
right? I'm like, Jesus fucking Christmas. So he gets there, and like everybody's being really nice to him, and he's being standoffish and evil.
Yeah. an asshole.
And there's a third girl
There's a
there.
third girl, but she's already all over one of the other guys.
Oh, don't worry. We see silhouettes of these people.
Not actual drawings.
Right. A silhouette of a fat girl, a silhouette of somebody with an enormous chin, and then a silhouette of a sports guy. So it's like a taller fellow who's like relatively in shape with a sideways baseball cap
And
on.
a neck almost as thick as his head.
His neck is enormous.
Like Paul Posluszny style.
I'll take your word for it and say yes.
I need to interrupt for 1 second. You've played this game for how many hours?
Like 2.5.
Wow.
It's intoxicating,
Holy
actually.
moly.
So,
left click the game, moves along.
Yeah. So we're here, and like the one girl's sort of attractive, but she gets in yeah, it looks like that guy, Paul
What's his
Snoslavsky
name
or
again?
whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But on an otherwise like 110-pound male who's like 6'2", is the sports guy. And you can tell that Tim, the main character, really resents sports guy. I wonder if it's because the person who made the game has never played a sport in their lives.
But during this interaction, he keeps referring to everyone as big chin, fat girl, sports guy.
Oh, my God. So, like, one of the girls is there, and she gets upset and leaves.
The big chin girl.
Oh, well, okay. There was the third available girl, but she was already all over.
Yes.
Sports guy.
So there's big chin, fat girl, girl over
who's already
sports
gonna
guy.
fuck.
The
fourth one, who is nobody else but his rival from childhood, is like, she's definitely not fuckable.
I can't do that.
So he goes like,
even though she's clearly the most attractive one there.
I do my duty, and I try to bang the big chin girl for an hour and a half.
Yeah, like he's trying to talk to her.
Taking one for the team.
And then she gets a text from her ex-boyfriend and leaves in a huff. And he's like, what a loser. He's probably just not going to treat her good anyway. I was like, I'm getting definite
Yes.
incel, involuntary celibate vibes here. Like somebody is really mad who made this game.
This is a lot of frustration.
Yeah, so
lot of
big chin girl
frustration.
leaves. The other
Oh my
girl
gosh,
leaves
so much.
so all that's left
fat
is
girl
fat
ends up
girl.
leaving with someone.
Well, fat girl decides to get with sports guy. So all that's left is the guy's buddy who set the thing up.
And rival girl.
And rival girl.
Cassie, Cassandra.
I'll cut through a little bit of it, but the friend who apparently went to high school with both these people pretends he doesn't know and says, "How do you two know each other?" And they're like, "Ooh," and then main character Tim's like, "Actually, how do you know that we know each other?" He's like, "Oh, bro, I actually went to high school. I saw this one time after this girl dropped out, a week after she dropped out, which he didn't know for a month and a half. So I don't know how this fucking timeline works.
Yeah, it's a
These
little
girls
wonky.
were saying that she's probably a prostitute."
And that's why
she dropped out, and you freaked out
and defended her.
You girls are and like if he wants to be mean to a woman in this game, he just calls them bitches. That's the only slang term he knows. He's like, and fuck.
He
is
says
the also,
slutty at some
that
point
shit's
too.
kryptonite.
Yeah, and fuck is also
Hey,
his
Genevieve,
other angry word.
Bitch.
Yeah.
Whoa.
See, she's melting.
Yeah.
There's a puddle now.
He's like, you fucking bitches will never know fucking satisfaction of achievement.
Because you've never achieved anything, and rival girl achieved everything.
Cassandra
blah,
has
blah,
achieved
blah.
so many things. She was at the top of her class. You fucking bitches will never know happiness as long as you exist on this planet.
I think that's actually a direct quote too.
And the guy's like, yeah, that's how I could tell you were head over heels for rival girl. And I'm like, you
Cassandra.
thought that was normal behavior?
It's like,
Nobody was like,
to
red
yell at a group of
flag.
girls.
That's how I've picked up every girlfriend I've ever had.
So,
You yell at
he's
people
sitting
talking shit
across.
on her?
He's sitting. Dude, we're only heating up. It gets fucking
Bananas.
more intense from here. So they're like drinking, and she's what the fuck? He's like, I tried to hide my discomfort, but the alcohol wouldn't allow me to control any part of my face that expressed that. This guy's never been drunk.
Part of the scene too is like the friend eventually leaves, but
His
but
friend gets
Cassandra,
a text from his own girlfriend. It was a setup all along.
but Cassandra never knew about him standing up, so she's kind of like, you can tell she's changed her mind. She's like, oh, he's super sweet and cares about me, so I'm gonna be nice and try to talk to him now.
Yeah.
Even though he's still under the impression that she's trying to best him in every way possible.
Yeah, he's like, how's she going to betray me now? So they leave, and he's walking her home, and
she's being
like,
nice and just like a drunk girl.
She's got like a little like red across her nose because she's wasted or something.
And she's an anime character.
Yeah, and she falls into his shoulder. It's literally the scene we're looking at.
Oh my God,
right
yes.
here. I'm sorry. I knew how much you hated this. This is a conversation before they split up. She falls into him, and her breast
like grazes
him, and then he's like, I noticed that she was a member of the opposite sex.
Whoa.
Like it literally just hit him in his brain
like,
that she is a woman.
She is beautiful. She looks good. He's like, I could totally be. He's like, I could totally be one of those guys. This is that she's drunk now. I could totally take her and fuck her. He's like, I bet she's a virgin.
It's like it's way too much dialogue in his head about raping her. It's way too much.
I was building to that. He goes, I bet she's a virgin. And how can I take that stupid smile off her face?
Ultimate way to best her is
I
to
can,
fucking
I
rape
can
her.
take her to someplace while she's drunk and rape her. And he's like, I bet if I tried, I could even convince her to do it willingly. He's like, why would she be alone with a loser like me unless she wants to be raped by a loser like me?
Exactly.
She wants to be raped by a loser.
Like me.
Questions
This dumb
for
bitch.
myself.
So he starts to put an arm around her, and he's like, oh my God, wait, there's the best line in the whole game. You took a picture of it.
No,
He's
you're fine.
thinking
Hold
about,
on.
sorry about it.
Okay, so
he's thinking about having sex with her forcibly
All right.
against her will.
Do you want me to read the whole paragraph and the extra line?
Yes, please, just read the whole
Okay,
thing.
so there's, maybe she's still a virgin. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I couldn't satisfy myself by taking away her pride back then, but what about now? I could probably rape her and take this away from her. That pride, and most of all, that smile. My jeans is starting to feel tight by those simple thoughts.
My jeans
My
is
jeans
starting
is
to feel tight by the
Those
simple
simple
thoughts. Which, by the way, that is prime memeage.
THOT.
Whoever wrote this, like, they need some serious psychological
Genevieve
evaluation.
doesn't even think they're like native English speakers. I
Yeah.
think they just
actually-
worked themselves into a fervor by this point.
Actually, I completely retract my Japs comment. This was definitely made by some fedora wearing neckbeard going,
Thank
my
you.
lady, like this
Yeah.
is a fucking mess.
This
That's
guy.
the high
Can you
school.
define a neckbeard for those listeners who don't know what it is?
Oh, I mean, just look up fedora wearing neckbeard. I mean, it's the first, your typical internet basement dwelling, bottom feeder that you're going to find.
Who doesn't take care of
Basically, like-
themselves and blames the world and women for not
Yes.
being interested
Like
in
just
them?
look
Basically
at
call
the
them-
first
yeah,
the first
well,
hit. The
yeah.
first hit is your definition.
Well,
And
it's like-
imagine him saying "milady"
Well, there-
because he knows how to treat women correctly.
He's a real gentleman.
Right.
yeah.
they consider themselves nice guys who like want to take care of women,
He's such
and
a
everyone else is a
douchebag. She
jerk.
should totally love me because I'm such a nice.
We're crossing into all kinds of magisteria here, but let's.
So
Magisterial.
he I don't know what that word meant. So he's putting his arm around her, and she like stops him. She falls into him again, and then it makes like danger music because they made physical contact. And she starts like, she's like, I know you've always hated me, but blah blah blah. And he's like, fuck you. And he pulls out his phone and calls her a cab, hands her $40, and fucks off. And she's like, but I wanted to talk.
That's a hell of a fuck you. Here's
Yeah.
cab,
Yeah.
here's cab fare.
Yeah, and he
I
left,
know,
and they
right?
didn't talk for more years. So he
Like 2
leaves.
more years. He graduates.
He leaves school. He gets a good job, but it doesn't satisfy him because he robotically does work, but he gets paid. He has a girlfriend that he doesn't care about, but he bangs 3 times a week. He made sure to note that.
3 times a week specifically.
And she
It's scheduled.
She might. She might
Then his
be
Outlook
using
calendar.
him. Well, he goes to a strip club.
That's not really a strip club.
Yeah, he this guy seems to think that strippers are in fact prostitutes.
I mean,
Sometimes, but he's like, instead of a pole, they fuck at this, or like
They sit with you
they
like
sit
at your
with you with
table
this
and
one,
serve you
and
drinks.
instead of being prostitutes, they're called hostesses. I'm like, strippers are not hostesses.
And
They're like dancers.
strippers are also not prostitutes. But apparently, even in this story, the women working at this facility are actually, in fact, paid for sex. So
And guess who's there? guess who's fucking there? Rival girl.
Working as a hostess.
Yeah, so he goes, guess what? Let's go back to this hotel, because he's like, he was thinking about that time he almost raped her, and he's like, boy, I really should have done it, because she's just a literal whore.
Yeah, be like, back then I could have taken it from her, and now she's just giving it away to anyone who pays her.
It wouldn't even have been bad, because, like, she wouldn't have been upset, because she's probably fucking everybody. So I got back to the hotel room.
Literally her job.
She's like trying to talk to, well, you know what? We don't know yet. I guess so, but like she goes and he's like, get naked, and she's like, don't you want to drink some wine first and get to like talking? He's like,
calm the
fucking bitch, get naked.
And he even notes in this like paragraph, he's like, but it was a good thing that I was standing in the doorway, like so she couldn't escape.
So she couldn't escape. So she takes off her clothes and he's like, that fucking bitch, she's covering herself as though I'm not worthy of seeing her naked body. It's her final trick she's playing against me. I'm not even worthy when she lets all these old men see her for money. And like she has on these underpants and
that are not
he's
like,
like, take them off. And she goes, oh, I'm not like this. She literally says, not like this. I'm like, okay, so she's like she's in love with this guy, like she's been saving herself or something. And like they make note, she's like, I wore my panties with running shoes on them. If you recall, she always beat him at running, so she clearly has a thing about running against him on the off chance that he was gonna fuck her that night, even though they haven't met in years. So she wears her shoe panties and he doesn't get the thing, so she takes off her panties and then she covers her clam, and then he's like, oh, he throws her onto the bed and gets on top of her and is like thinking about assaulting her, and then she's like not resisting, and then she's crying. And how does this situation resolve?
I actually don't even remember. I think they just kind of cut to black screen a lot and just have like words, because it's literally all just clicking and reading. She says
I love you.
Yeah.
She says I love you.
She's like, I know you hate me, but I've always loved you.
And he's like, fuck you.
That's
this
what
is how you're winning again. Fuck you. You're making me look so stupid.
No, but then he starts getting rough with her, like throwing her around.
Yeah, and she's into it.
And then he like tries to leave, and she's like, where are you going? And he's like, if I stay any longer, I'm afraid I will break you. And she goes, maybe I want that.
Yeah, he keeps
maybe you should try.
Girls, I guess, having sex are getting braked.
Broken.
And she's, what if I like that?
And then it cuts to a black screen, and it's like, after all that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And like, we kept meeting this day of the week.
We keep meeting every week. On the third week, I'm like, so you did it like three times. Third time?
Every time, 3 times.
Yeah, and then like, he gets like, I don't know what the fuck happens. They stop meeting at the hotel, and then like the 7th time they start meeting.
No, they stop
on her work night, and then he notices she has a black eye, and suddenly he cares enough. He's like, who did this? So to skip over some other crazy shit, they decide to run away. Mm-hmm. Well, we find out that the reason that she left school is because her dad was a businessman / fucking
gambler
stock guy,
and that too,
and he lost all his money because this person doesn't know what people actually do for money, and then he lost it all somehow. And then there's another line where he goes, his dad or her dad continued to get his feet dirty by gambling
instead of hands dirty.
His feet dirty. So
does he pull the handle on the slot machines with his feet?
I hope so.
I don't fucking know.
You press buttons now.
So he's in debt for money, so she had to leave school, and he had invested money in her to go to school, but apparently not anymore. Then he blamed her for not graduating soon enough, but somehow she ends up going to school. But the reason she's working this job as a hostess / whore is her dad owes money to the mafia.
Whole new level.
And the mafia took his daughter away to work off her debt. She works one night a week.
Yes. They make that clear several times.
Urgent.
So hard.
Oh my God. He's like, doesn't she have another job? And they never address it. He just asks the question. They never address it. So he's like, she's like, we can't run away. You'll be killed. He's like, I don't care if I die. And then she's like, I care. So they're like, where are we going to go? Let's go to Las Vegas because the place with the most mobsters is the last place that they would think to look. So
they don't ever talk to each other anyway.
Oh, my God. So they go to a casino, and she watches him gamble, and then she wants to gamble, and he, like, walks away and comes back, and some guy had approached her and is, like, hitting on her because she's super hot, and she has a look on her face, and he goes, what did he say to you? And she's like, oh, nothing. And he screams in the middle of the casino, what did he say to you? And she goes, he asked me how much for a night. And he's like, get out. And the guy's like, all right, sorry, dude. And he's like, I don't know, she's really beautiful. He's like, get out. He's like, all right, whatever. He goes, I wasn't talking to you. Cassandra, get out of here while I handle this. Clearly indicating he's going to fight this guy, right?
For hitting on her.
Yeah, so because she's like, I'm not leaving. So he turns to face the guy who thought she was a prostitute. Cassandra grabs him from behind. The guy punches the shit out of him.
Out of Tim, our main character.
Yeah, the guy who's
our hero protagonist.
Our potential John punches Tim, and then Tim gets punched again to the ground, and the guy walks off. He's like, do not. He goes, next time, make sure you know with whom you are messing with.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of whom's.
With whom you are messing with.
Do not have any business.
So they leave. He goes outside. He's upset. He pushes her to the ground.
She likes it, apparently, so she
rips
gets
a bunch
up.
of shots. She doesn't say anything. He pushes her to the ground. She says again, pushes her to the ground. He does it 3 times, and she rolls with it in public, and then they're laughing. And they're just hanging out in Vegas. And that's where we are in the story right now.
Yeah, yes.
Right now.
She won quite a bit of money in gambling.
Yeah. She won $700 gambling. She hit roulette on the first try.
Wow.
Now, okay, here's the thing.
There's so many things.
At first, I was like, this is probably going to be really stupid. Then we got to the whole, like, rape thing, and I was like, what the fuck am I playing? Like, do I need to quit this right now? And then it moved away to like a consensual relationship, and now that there's a mafia, I'm like, all right, now I need to know what's going on.
Yeah, I need to know how it
have
ends.
to know how this gets resolved.
It's broken up into chapters. We're on chapter 8 out of 10, I think.
Oh, we're estimating 10.
Yeah.
For my part, I'm pretty sure that you guys have spent the balance of this last segment quoting the script verbatim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, and leaving some things out. Because you've been going on for about 4 hours. And you've only played 2.5 hours of gameplay.
I was going to say.
And we've spanned at least a decade of this asshole's life.
Yeah. Guess what?
That's pacing, fellas.
She's like, are we going to elope? And he's like, I still hate your guts.
Yeah, she's like, well, I
Sit
love
on
you.
my pee.
But he bangs her once a week.
Yeah, well, no, now they're running away together. He's like, I'm lying to myself
Like, he didn't
because I say it's for me, but is it really?
But they make the point of like explaining that he still apparently has that girlfriend that he was banging 3 times a week, and like didn't tell her that he's running away, didn't tell work that he's running away. Like,
but don't worry, he covers the plot hole. He's like, but I have a ton of money from my old part-time job, and then also that job I had afterwards, and all I did was study, so it's cool. I didn't spend any money. I'm like, this guy is fucking out of control. This is a person who has never been drunk, never played on a sports team, never
the way he described
money,
drunk
never
was
interacted
stupid.
with another
he
human.
basically never left his mom's basement.
He's got to be 13. Pretty impressive
so
game
Frank?
for 13. A lot of, I mean.
No, I'm going to pin him at 35.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, okay.
I'm going to say late 20s.
Here's the thing. I'm
going to say I don't care, and I kind of want to fight him.
You would probably win.
Literally in his own.
I ain't a fighter, but
dude, in his own game, the main character hero tried to start a fight and then got the shit kicked out of him in 2 punches. 2.
At least he's realistic.
Like,
yes, after all the other stuff that's going on.
2 punches is like, you should be able to withstand 2 punches.
Hey,
he's a basketball star. He should be able to withstand like 50 punches.
What was that, Frank?
Mike Tyson gave somebody the one-hitter quitter.
Mike Tyson was a mountain. All right, and frightening. He bit a guy's ear off.
This guy is surprisingly average.
So, I guess
I'm upset.
This is almost actually like the 50 Shades of Grey for closet.
I think that is an
shut
insult
off
to 50 Shades.
I am both
And I hate
No.
alarmed and enthralled. I don't know where the fuck this story is going.
But I need to know the end of it.
Yes, I need to know how does this guy? I'm like trying to imagine. And part of the hard time I have with figuring out game stories is I'm like, it would make sense in real life if this is how it went. But then I try to figure out what the person writing the story would do to actually figure out I don't have a clue. I don't have any idea where the fuck this is going. We've literally just been digging a hole deeper on a game that somebody told me you can beat quote unquote you can
1
click
hour
through in an hour,
which
and
is
read
not
the
even a
thing.
game. It's
And-
just clicking and reading.
I
And
think
some
that
animations
they
show up.
somehow get money, and he pays off the mafia, and he like goes to fight the girl's dad, but just says something really cool, like his line. He remembers his line to those girls who were calling his Cassandra.
It's Cassandra.
A prostitute. He's like, he literally remembers like, you foul bitches are nothing and will never compare to the achievement that is Cassandra, who dedicates herself to the betterment of herself, with whom forthwith you are not able to
Yes.
compete on this earth. And he's
that's actually how the dialogue is written too.
yeah, and he's
it's-
like this. He's like, and he remembers it like, yeah, that was the most incredible moment of my life. It was the best thing I ever said. I remember it very verbatim. So I think that they somehow get money, and he almost gets into a fight, but he says something he thinks is cool, and then
Everyone applauds.
yeah, and then they bang for all eternity or something, and then he just rails her. There's
Dumps all his loads he's been saving.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's internet lore. This is worth a Google if you have time. But a kid was talking about there was like a free writing period in his class, and he had a classmate who tried to write erotic fiction. And the point where the characters finally engage in intercourse, he wrote, and then he just railed her. And he read it aloud in front of the entire class. And everybody was like, what in the
And he
fuck?
just railed her.
So you can look that internet lore up. How do you think that this is going to end?
You know, logically, I want to agree with you in that they'll get the money back, but like every chapter of this stupid story has been getting more and more intense. It was literally starting with elementary kids, and now we're a psychopath and a prostitute in Las Vegas hiding from the mafia. Like,
Sounds like my weekend.
I know, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being killed to save her, because like the White Knight thing. Or if in the very end it was a trick all along and she betrays him because they were actually rivals and she knew the whole time.
And then he goes Super Saiyan and Kamehamehas her into space.
I don't know about all that.
I do.
Truly.
I wrote it.
I don't know.
I wrote the game.
Now, Bill.
However,
now,
yeah,
Bill,
go ahead.
would you
Under a
would you
pseudonym?
recommend this game to other gamers?
Yes.
It is free.
That
It is
upsets
free.
me.
It is engaging, surprisingly. It'll make your head explode.
I
It's
imagine
entertaining.
if you were hammered.
One more time. What's the name?
The
Her lie,
lie
I
or-
tried to believe. It is free. It's like 300 megabytes. The art is actually kind of decent. The dialogue is very awkward.
and incorrect at times.
Fortunately for you guys, the soundtrack is available for purchase for $4.
Sure.
But
Yep.
the game itself is free.
Yep. And they're just trying to sell
But-
their music. And,
Shouldn't.
I don't fucking know.
Okay.
If you don't take it seriously and you're ready, to be horrified, it is a fucking
Experience.
remarkable. I think that's the only word. Remarkable click simulator.
I agree that
Simulator.
it must be remarkable because you have a lot of remarks about it.
yeah.
It is.
And this
yes.
has inspired me to how we're gonna make our money, Jake. We're gonna take your album and I'm gonna write
a terrible story.
a dog shit story, but it's gonna be super fucking intense.
With your
And I'm gonna
music.
give it away for free, and then be like, and then buy his music for $4.
I'm okay with this arrangement.
All right, sick.
Are you okay with like rape and all that? Because it's
What? That's not gonna be my story.
Yes, I am okay with that. That is fine.
being
That was one of.
portrayed- that was
What? Fuck you.
But that was like one of the most baffling things that the guy said. He's like, maybe she wants to be raped, Like, what?
At which point it ceases to be rape.
Right?
Yeah.
What planet is this fella from? Of course, I guess a woman could have made this game.
Which would be a whole other can of worms.
Could you imagine?
Oh my god.
Equal opportunity psychopaths.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
I mean, he is kind of like the ultimate bad boy.
Yeah, we're fuck. We're gonna take another quick break. We're gonna come back with our weekly segment, Steam sales, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Please
kill me. Please.
We're gonna.
Okay, so I gotta say, there are so many feelings that I think we could just keep talking about this Psycho Simulator continued for a while.
Simulator.
But I'm gonna our clicking Psycho Simulator. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up with saying it makes me consider playing Call and Alert the FBI Simulator because wherever this game came from, I am concerned with that individual.
You know, it's really funny that you mentioned that because I thought the same thing while you're describing this. And I was like, how could somebody put a game like this out and not get a red flag?
Well, someone approved it to be on Steam.
No, I don't think so.
And they just put it up there.
I think I don't. Well, maybe to some degree. We should just look this up, but I think it is not very like if it works. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like the game works
as long as it's functional.
Yeah.
Meaning, you can click.
Yep.
The screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what was your prediction for the end of the game?
Oh, as much as I want to believe that they are going to find enough money for her to pay off the mafia for her dad owing money, I have this sneaking suspicion that he's going to murder her because every chapter of the story has gotten a level higher and a level higher and a little more higher. Like, it's just escalating so much. And when you hear his like internal dialogue, or you read it, I should say, he talks about hating her all the time. Like how much he hates her, how stupid she is, how much better she thinks she is than him. And even in their interactions, she'll say stuff like, I love you, or like she'll smile at him and he's like, fucking bitch.
Yeah, this reminds me of like the people are like, why are these internet people so enthralled with what's her name, the Joker's girlfriend?
Oh, Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and somebody pointed out she's like their manic pixie, like mutually abusive fantasy.
Yeah,
and this whole thing just seems to sort of be playing out for me that way. Now, I'll tell you, I've seen some of the darker corners of the internet. I say that as though I've actually seen anything really interesting. I've just seen some places where people who are kind of fucked in the head go and share their fucked up ideas. This guy sounds to me like some of those corners of the website. Like, and I can't imagine. I don't know. Like I said, I'm considering playing Alert the FBI Simulator because, buddy.
There's no way that this guy's not on some list at this point. Yeah. He's got to be. And then all the more depending on what the ending is too.
Yeah.
Depending on where this goes, sure.
We'll reserve the phone call for how the game ends. Maybe he wakes up from a horrible nightmare and he's a really nice guy.
I have an idea.
What's the idea?
Because I mean, think about it. I mean, take this guy's character. he feels that she's constantly one-upping him. I have this feeling that she's going to end up committing suicide. And then he's going to have to do it in some more dramatic way. So he's going to have to one-up her in suicide as well. Like, she's probably just going to simply put a gun in her mouth or something, and he's going to have to fucking jump off a building.
I don't think any of you who have at least somewhat functioning brains can accurately predict whatever is going to happen here.
I really think what we should do is we should just, instead of like alerting the government, we should just send them a link to this game and say, trust us. We run a podcast. Play this game.
Trust us. Our credentials. We're on a podcast.
Right. Yeah, and they're like, "Is there something we should be concerned about?" And be like, yeah, play the game. And then they'll be like, "We should definitely investigate this, but I have to know how it ends."
Play it till the
I wonder
end.
if we'll ever figure out who, if that's, I mean, if the game, if it ever gets to that point, if we'll ever figure out who the female is based off of.
Probably his sister.
And if she's still okay.
And if she's all right.
It's probably his sister, I think.
Oh, even worse.
That's why he's so frustrated.
I wouldn't even be surprised.
Yo, that's some like Tony Montana end of Scarface shit.
Yep.
Like right there.
All right.
I would like to point out that we at least have precedent for showing him how wrong he is about girls throwing themselves at middle school basketball players.
Oh, right.
For those of you who do not know, Villanova University won the NCAA men's championship, and one of their players, Dante DiVincenzo,
is in middle school.
Was at
and
one
girls
point,
do not throw themselves at them.
Was at one point in middle school. He scored 31 points in the national championship game, and he was like the highlight, and everybody was talking about him. And then it came out a couple of days after the championship that I guess he threw it up on Instagram or something like that. 8 years ago, he's a junior, so he's 21 years old. 8 years ago, he texted a girl, right? And was like, "Hey, my friend Colin told me I should hit you up. What are you up to?" And then she was like basically ghosted him. 3 days after the national championship, 8 years later, she texts him back.
Amazing. Oh, man.
Yeah.
But it was actually his friend the whole time. Right?
No. Apparently she's like an Instagram model or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Like, point is, he was obviously very good at basketball in middle school, too.
Yeah.
And
she still didn't care.
Yep.
That is some great evidence you got there. I got, Frank, I just really... Wow.
So... Suck it, nerd.
All right. Jake, do you think you can pull up the Steam sales this week? Don't need a sale to pick up our new favorite game.
So it's clearly the deal of the week.
It's free. And along with that,
75%.
Crusader Kings 2 was free when I downloaded this other game for free. Now Crusader Kings 2 is 75% off, $9.99.
What is Crusader Kings?
It's like an empire management game where you control like marriages and uprisings and shit like that. I haven't played it, but it is an absolute classic. We keep seeing it come up here for sale because it's supposed to be really, really, really good. The Long Dark, I saw some gameplay of that. Neat art style survival game. I don't think it's really survival horror. There are like wolves and shit that you might have to deal with, but there's not necessarily monsters. But you have to survive in a really cold environment and try to escape. I've never had hands on, and I've never gotten through, seen the end. But
I saw some gameplay from this, and it looks like it's involved.
Yeah.
It's not like a simple game or anything like that for a relatively simple premise, I think. I still think, is that $8.74?
Yeah, 75% off, $8.74.
I would never pay $35 for it.
No.
I don't know if I'd even spend $8.75. And that's say like it's disappointing that I would say that. It's just maybe it's because I don't know.
You don't know a ton about it.
Yeah.
It's a good game. I'm sure, but I would spend $5 on it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a $5 game. I'm just saying that's what I would spend on it.
Yeah, I'm with you. If it were higher quality graphics wise, I would consider 10 to 12, but it looks circa 2006-ish.
Looks a little Oblivion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a neat art style.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's like sort of escape the room kind of play. So there's like a constant
that
stress.
looks nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you got to worry about starving to death or freezing to death or falling off and breaking your leg.
It's got like a quasi cell shading to it.
Yeah. It
I like
definitely looks good.
Yeah.
But
No, and the gameplay that I saw looks like there's a lot that you can do. There's a lot of different things that you're keeping track of. It's not like just kind of point click. It's not like you're clicking through text, is my point.
oh shit.
That's my favorite kind of game, though.
Jackboot Government Agent Simulator, 85% off for $3.
AKA door kickers.
Door kickers. This looks like Hotline Miami, doesn't it?
Door
Real-time
kickers.
strategy. Charge of a SWAT team that lets you command them during tactical intervention.
It's top down, and it was released 4 years ago. Interesting, but it's only $3. This looks pretty cool.
Very positive reviews.
Now with co-op.
overall.
Yeah. Let's see. Made by Killhouse Games. I need to start looking at the developers and publishers so I can remember things between games. This is intriguing. Looks like the SWAT members walk through and follow your commands on where to look and how to engage.
Much slower than Hotline.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't.
It looks like you have to map out like how you before they start moving because like look he was like
Yeah.
dragging like the dotted line and that then like he clicked and then that's what they did after the fact. So it looks like you have to plan it out before you kind of know what's going on.
No,
Like
no, three-
with
And then
your
react
enemies.
once you do know.
Yeah.
$3. I mean, yeah, I'd check this
Yeah.
out.
It's a strategy. Get to play around
Yeah, I was
it.
gonna say I can't imagine anyone spending $20 on that game, but $3 seems like a fair price.
What's Cossacks 3? Mixed reviews.
Looks
so they
like
must-
an RTS.
Yeah, they must have changed something here recently that made everybody mad. 50% off, $9.99. It looks like another gussied up Age of Empires. Looks
Yeah.
looks a lot like Age of Empires. doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it looks decent though.
Yeah.
I mean, like artistically, graphically, it looks decent.
Shitload of individual soldiers on the screen at one time. That's pretty
Yeah.
impressive.
Well, it does look like they're running a 10-year-old engine. It's just pretty, spiced up.
Yeah. Has all reviews are mostly positive. It's probably a pretty good game. Came out 2 years ago. But $10, that's not going to be my pick of the week.
Right.
That easy.
That looks like
This War of Mine, $5.99. This War of Mine, overwhelmingly positive for 36,000. Recent reviews very positive. Came out 3 years ago. Basically, you're in a building and it's survival again, and you have to try to manage your food, your health, weapons. You explore different areas of like a bombed out building, and then you expand to the city. And you just run the risk of your characters dying through starvation, getting lost, getting assaulted. Sometimes guys show up to like trade with you. It's obviously 2D here. It's a lot. It's really, really cool. Really, really cool. I've been waiting to buy this game until apparently right now when it is only $6.
It looks like a really high quality like mobile game. But like it looks really, really
It's a
good.
side scroller.
Yeah. But it's like you click enter this room and then there might be an enemy there and then hopefully your guy's equipped to fight it and you can either run or fight them. And then if your character dies, that's it. You can either rescue another person or you have one less person to help support your survival of this war-torn environment. This is a really excellent game from what I've seen. All right. We've got a bunch more on sale. Let's take a peek at those. See if anything really strikes us. Okay. Voholo. Careful bartender action. Cyberpunk bartender action.
VA11 Hall A.
Overwhelmingly positive.
What is it though?
What the fuck? No, yeah, it's Valhalla, right? Valhalla.
Mhm.
Just spelled out all cool. It's only a third off for $10. No thanks. I'll pass. I'll get
I don't
something.
even know what's
Even-
happening, and I don't like the art style so
It's like
far.
a bartender game.
Cyberpunk anime bartender.
Yeah.
Yeah, give
Nah.
me 85% off, then we'll talk.
It's a hard pass. It's gonna be a no from me, dog.
Fake and gay.
Okay. Shadow Tactics. I've been waiting for that game to go on sale, but it's relatively new. It looks like really cool top down. Like it looks like that game, that SWAT game earlier that we were talking about, but it's only 33% off. It's still $26.79. So
All right, so this is that game for the weeaboos out there.
yeah, it's Japanese
SWAT team.
Yeah. You have your like samurai and ninja run across rooftops and fight each other in top down.
This is for Ken-san out there who believes that the samurai sword is the superior weapon form,
right?
And wears his kimono when he moves to
Nippon
Japan.
Steel folded 1,000.
We all know
times.
that copy pasta. And then the other ones for the whatever the other guy was, who believes that the 1911 is the superior weapon form and comes here to wear cowboy boots. We all know that copy pasta as well.
Mm-hmm.
We got one for each of you.
All right, what else we got?
That's all right.
Yeah. I mean, it looks good. I don't know about the gameplay.
And the price.
CES.
Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator. We don't need to go in here.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure you can just pick like a bunch of different kind of units, and then you tell them to fight, and it does really goofy simulations of the combat.
Knights,
I don't know that it's so much actual
zombies.
gameplay as like,
much as clicking
like,
for dialogue.
Imagine
Nukes versus
10,000
knights.
chickens against 300 Spartans.
That's a lot of units.
Yeah, and like
Wait, chickens?
literally like chickens.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Chicken chaser.
But do you like choose your
That actually
opponents?
that actually seems like pretty interesting.
You just have them fight against each other. It doesn't really do anything for me, but it's been pretty popular.
I feel like there's a limit at some point because if you only have so many options to fight.
I think I remember seeing some guy like, "Hey, what would happen if I came into a battle against a stampeding herd of cow?" And then like he like put himself up against cow, but he gave himself a flamethrower or some shit.
Yeah.
It's almost like it answers that
Steaks.
question of like how many fourth
What's for
graders can
dinner?
you take?
Yeah.
You know, like it's one of those games.
I actually think that would be like an interesting thing to have in your back pocket. Be like, how long do you
flamethrower?
think it would take you to jerk off an entire room of dudes? I mean, how many cows do you think you could take on?
1 hour.
It depends on the guys, right? Like
So anyway, that's
No.
50%
No.
off at $8.99.
If they're
Torchlight-
pre-sorted tip to tip, you can just go like
down
4
the
at a
line.
time.
But you could also do like the skiing, like double
Torchlight
fist it.
Torchlight 2. That means there was a Torchlight 1. So maybe it was up, very positive, very positive. Let's see. What does it say we got here? RPG, action RPG, hack and slash, co-op. So maybe, are we thinking like a Diablo?
This
kind
is
of
very
game?
much, yes. This is very much like a Diablo. I have seen this. I believe I actually played this a lot before Diablo 2 came out. This came out in 2012. Yeah. This came out the same time as Diablo 3. And if I remember right, it was this and Path of Exile that people were all about when Diablo 3 first came out because, as we've mentioned before on this show, when Diablo 3 came out, it was not received very well because it was not a very good game. People instead moved along to Path of Exile and Torchlight 2. And I think it captured them for a while, both of those games, because at least at the time, Path of Exile was, I believe, free. And I think it still is, actually. Torchlight was cheap as well back then. I don't remember it being 20 even back then, but I have heard very good things about it.
So
Very reminiscent of Diablo 2.
$5 for this bad boy.
Recommended.
Okay.
That might be it for me.
And then there should be one more. Hold Fast. This looks like fucking
Nations at
Helm's
War.
oh no,
This is,
Revolutionary War.
yeah.
We got ships. We got bagpipers. We got Englishmen in the desert.
Nerds.
What is this? Early access historical multiplayer action. Is it a first fight on multiple fronts and hold fast nations of war? Competitive multiplayer, first and third person shooter set during the Napoleonic era. Charge into battle with 150 players per server. I like that. I mean, I've said before I'd like,
It looks great.
yeah, the Star Wars Battlefront with 100 guys on each team already populated on the server. That sounds exciting. But how much do they want? How much do they want for this?
$13.
$13
Actually
for
seems-
early access, and it was released September 21st, 2017. So it's been out for 6 months. It's still in early access. Probably not a bad deal, but
Gets good reviews.
I'm not interested, so
yeah,
I'm kind
I
of
don't know. It
interested.
just doesn't appeal to me.
yeah.
appeals a lot to me.
I can't.
Well,
it
Frank-
really isn't showing us any gameplay so much as like guys shooting at each other
And running around with guns in their
and the
hands.
camera changing focus on them. All right, that's it for the special offers that popped up here. I guess it's time to make our call. You know, I was. All right, I have to pick. I'm going to go with This War of Mine. I was almost sold on the Torchlight 2 recommendation from Frank, but I've seen This War of Mine. I've been really... I've wanted that, and I want Darkest Dungeon for quite some time now, just because they were so exciting when I saw them. I'm going to have to... And I don't think that I really have the time to get engaged with a Diablo-style game right now, so I think I would go with This War of Mine.
I think we're going to go with Frank on this one with the Torchlight. He definitely made some valid points on the with the Diablo 3, and this was like the go-to for those people. I'm definitely on board with you on that one.
I like survival stories, so I'm gonna I think my first pick would actually be The Long Dark, and then second would be This War of Mine.
Yeah, Torchlight for me. I definitely recommend it. Pick it up, $5. Can't beat that.
I have no opinion. Maybe Door Kickers. It's $3.
And also, it's
cheaper.
called Door Kickers.
Also, kicking doors is kind of cool.
Or it could be pronounced
And now there's co-op.
Kickers.
Dork Acres.
Now there's co-op, and it was actually it does have a what does it say? Best what 2014? Best tactics.
Yeah.
Of 2014.
All right. Okay. So normally I say something at the end. I thank you all for listening, but Chris has informed me he has a joke.
Oh God.
There we go.
All right. So just to preface the joke, I
Apologize.
recently, I'm not apologizing for shit because I'm not an apologist. Fuck them.
It's gonna be a Nazi joke.
Close. 2 weeks ago, I had almost 2 weeks ago, I had my wisdom teeth pulled at 30 years old. Finally, and I didn't realize that they don't stitch the holes up.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, my mouth is very holy, and I just wanted to say that my priest agrees.
Oh my! Did you write that joke?
See, that's not as
yourself?
bad as I thought it was gonna be.
It's pretty bad.
I mean, bad and like
Not
not a quality joke, maybe, but
I wanted it to be as offensive as possible.
Yeah, that wasn't as bad as my porn video joke I tried to make earlier.
Wow.
porn video joke.
Holy, my priest agrees.
I see naked ladies, and then I
Oh,
want to
yes,
make
that one.
movies.
That one, yes.
That went
Wait,
fucking
what?
nowhere. The joke I made earlier.
Oh yeah.
I thought somebody would pick up. You guys love porn jokes and dick talk.
I just know. I
just
love
like
porn.
dicks.
Yeah, it's all about the dicks.
All about them dicks.
Well,
Dicks.
Do you know how long it
guys were
would
the
take you to
dicks.
jerk off a room full of dudes?
How
'Cause
how
I
big
do,
is the
and I
room?
can
How many
prove it.
dudes is in a room?
Begin.
Is this a room full of dudes, or is it like literally packed wall to wall?
Packed wall to wall full of dudes.
Are they like lining up
what
to
is
come
a
out?
standard size
and
room?
I'm talking about like auditorium.
This podcast is
size
over.
dudes.
Cock 'em, lock 'em, and rock 'em.
But mostly cock.
You
But
said
mostly
cock.
cock 'em.
You said cock.
Room full of them.
Dicks.
Dicks.
Jerk them all off.
Penis.
It's my Barack Obama again.
On point. I thought he was here.
That's actually a Silicon Valley joke. They
What?
start talking about the most efficient way to jerk off a room full of dudes, and then they go through and they mathematically prove what they believe to be
What did
the
they?
most efficiently. You have to pre-sort them for height
Mhm.
and shaft angle, right?
Okay.
And width, right? So then you can line them up next to each other, and you can like.
It's over. It's
Okay.
over.
Well, see, that's what I was saying.
It's over.
It's you do
Stop
like the,
recording.
You do like the double fisting
Please
thing.
stop recording.
There's
Please
actually
end
a
it now.
paper on it.
And I imagine it would
Put
be
this-
easier if they
put
are
this
taller. That
down.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
No.
they're all the same
Kill
height.
this.
No.
This isn't. This isn't the
Merc
old
it
Yeller.
Does anyone have a grenade?
It is the world's most elaborate dick joke, and it's incredible.
But it makes sense
Yeah.
bye.
mathematically.
Bye. Hey. Bye.